Hello and welcome to the Alien Disclosure Network, presented by Aliendisc.net. Visit our official website for the latest in UFO, paranormal, and alternative news and discussion. We present to you now a 3-hour exclusive interview with John Smith, a man who recounts his supernatural contact experiences with UFOs. John lives in a secluded area away from society, somewhere high atop the mountains of Montana, USA, where he experiences extraordinary contact with an intelligence not from this earth. We elaborate on theories about what is happening with humanity and our future. You do not want to miss this groundbreaking account of real encounters with extraterrestrial life forms. You have more than likely not heard an account like this ever. We explore on topics such as dreams, astral projection or remote viewing, other psychic abilities and experiences leading up to close encounters and more. You may be transformed by absorbing this fantastic information shared with us now. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for more.
Hello.
Can you see me?
I can see you, yeah.
Oh, geez, you got the headphones and everything. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I just got it all set up here for...
Oh, you're trying to look really professional.
Yeah, we got a couple green screens and we're going to do some video editing too. So we're going to try.
Oh, beautiful. Green screen.
Yeah, so we can throw in a background if we want.
You can pretend you're in downtown New York looking at UFOs.
Pretty much, yeah, anything we want. I'm not sure Matthew's in the call. I don't know what's going on here. One moment. I don't know what happened.
No problem. So we're, you saying in Lake Moose or something?
Where I'm from?
Yeah.
I'm from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada. So that's
Saskatchewan. Is that up towards more on the Montana side or the other side by Toronto?
It's right above North Dakota. So it's the border.
Ah, so you're up near... Okay, so you're somewhere close to me, but still a few hundred miles.
Yeah. Where are you exactly in the mountains there?
Well, right now I'm in Boston. Take care of my mom. She's 95 years old. She can't be alone. But I'm in Montana. I'm up by outside of Lincoln, about 30 miles up in the mountains. But right now I'm in Boston. But that's where I live.
Okay. Lincoln. Where's that exactly?
It's
what state?
It's about an hour and a half from Helena, Montana.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
I'm in the mountains up there.
Must be nice.
I got 60 acres on. I got 60 acres on the top of a mountain, which just borders nothing but national forest behind me for 3 million acres.
Wow.
And then goes right into Canada. There's nothing back there but a bunch of animals, and goes to the Scapegoat Wilderness area, then goes into the Bar Marshall, then goes into Glacier, and then goes into Canada.
That's awesome.
That's probably why there's a lot. You know, it's funny. It's a funny thing, you know. When I left Hubbardston in 1998 to move up there, beautiful house in Hubbardston. I built it myself. Big marble tile, everything, jacuzzi, upstairs, downstairs. And I left. And I went and bought those 60 acres. And I mean, it's literally, originally when I moved up there was only a 13 by 24 foot cabin.
Mm-hmm.
There's no heat, there's no power, there's nothing up there. I mean, it's deserted. And I fell in love with the place the minute I went up there. And I actually took a ride out to Montana before that. And I was just picking up real estate magazines.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got back home, before I moved up, I went through the magazines and looked at something I thought it was what I'd like. And then narrowed it down to 2 pieces of property. This one, and then there was one other one, but it only had 20 acres, and it had power and everything. But I was thinking, well, if it has power, then it's got to be too close to people.
Yeah.
So I went up and looked at this piece first, and I fell with it. I'm up on a mountain. I'm surrounded by the mountains. And I mean, when I say I'm surrounded by the mountains, I can walk to those mountains from my house. Just mountains, like, you know, a quarter of a mile over here.
That's awesome.
But, you know, and it's kind of funny, when I moved up there, you know, I'm on my Android phone because there's no electricity, so I always plug it in my car when I got to charge it up. And I mean, it's a rough life. I mean, there's nothing there. There's no power. There's no water. I got to haul it. Tried to have them drill a well. They went down 400 feet, not a drop of water. $8,000 gone.
Mm.
So I hauled the water from then on. And at that time, I was married, and I took my brother-in-law. At the time, he came out there. I says, wait, when we go out there, because I was going to pick up my wife that was still living in my house in Hubbardston in August. And when I went up there with my brother-in-law, we were sitting outside on the driveway, which is just all dirt, and just kind of looking up. You know, it was nighttime, and I saw what I thought were flares coming down, white flares. There was no plane or anything coming by. I saw these white flares coming down, you know, just kind of white balls. And I said, "Oh, look at that! Must be flares." Because I'm not one to jump in everything I see as a UFO or
right.
whatever. Even though I know what goes on here, I still don't just accept everything now, as I'm very analytical that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a week later, went to get something to eat, came back home, and now one of those lights was at the if you went down the driveway and you went to the back of my property, before you hooked the corner to go back to the back 40, there was a white light over the trees. And I said, "Hey, Charlie, that's like those things I see when I was back in Hubbardston. I've seen them in North Conway. Same thing, seen them my whole life." Then it went away. And then after that, things started picking up pretty bad. He ended up moving back to Massachusetts. His mother didn't want him up there. She wanted to buy him a car to get him back. He left. Was up there with my wife.
I'm still here.
Still there?
Yep.
Okay. Just I got some kind of one drink we go here. So I kept seeing these lights when I was, and it's funny because I made friends with this bear, and he used to come up to the house and he'd actually pound on the door, and I'd follow him, and it'd be at night, and he'd dig a spot. He'd be digging on the ground, like making a smooth spot. And I would sit there, and then he would go about 10 feet away from me, and he'd dig another spot, and he would be laying there. Well, one night I was laying there, and I'm just kind of looking at him, thinking, wow, this is just like a movie. You know, you got a bear, and I'm up in the mountains of Montana, and all of a sudden I saw one of those lights coming down from the national forest down the hill from me. And I'm thinking, oh, that light's coming right here. Well, the light came over the tree where I was at. And so I look at Teddy because, you know, he was sleeping, and they always, you know, I've heard in the past, oh, animals can sense things and all this kind of stuff. He was sleeping, scratching his arm, and kept looking back at the light. And then the light took off, and it was gone, slowly moving away. And after that, it was snowing one night, and I was walking up the driveway because it had already been snowing. I'd been walking for 3 months, get a lot of snow up there sometimes. And as a joke, I had to pull a sled, and on the sled I had a 40-pound bag of alfalfa cubes. I was feeding the deer up there in the wintertime. Had them laying all over my yard. And then I had a gallon of milk, and it was like, you know, another 7 pounds, and I had some other stuff. So the sled was probably about 60, 70 pounds. And because you're going up a hill, I wrapped the rope around my waist, and I'd take like 25, 30 steps through the snow drifts, and then I'd take like a minute break, and I'd take another 25, and then I'd say, I'm going to take 30 steps this time, and 50. I got up the first little hill where it starts to level off, and then I'm about, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile from where I have to go if I take the switchback road. So I get up to the top there, and I'm relaxed. I'm happy. I don't care. It's cool. So I look at the sled, and I look up at the sky, and I make a joke, and I says, hey, how about beaming me up on the hill? And, you know, even if you don't beam me up, how about beaming my sled up? Look at the sled. I said, yeah, of course not. You know, I was laughing. So I started walking, and it gets to a point when you're walking on the flat, that once you can see my cabin from that lower road, but you're about 1,000 feet down. But if you walk up this steep hill, the snow is deeper, but you'll get up there a lot sooner than walking another 3/4 of a mile through snow drifts, and you don't know what's going to come up around the next corner. Mm-hmm. So I wrapped the sled around my waist like I always did, and take 25 steps, get to the tree. I pick a tree, so I'm going to go with that tree. You know, same routine all the time. I had a little flashlight in my hand, one of those little ones you buy for $5. And all of a sudden, you know, it's pitch black. I mean, the moon isn't out, it's pitch black. And all of a sudden, the flashlight started flickering and going out. And I'm thinking, oh, crap. Batteries are going dead or something's wrong here. And the flashlight comes back on. I'm trying to shine the light now to the electric fence I had up there. And I couldn't see it. I figured it'd shine off the metal wire. And I thought, well, maybe it got buried in the snow. It just, you know, the snow's that deep. So I take 25 more steps. All of a sudden, the flashlight goes completely off. And I'm thinking, ah, shit, this is awful. It was cold, you know, and I'm thinking, nothing. And all of a sudden, the light comes on. And I am standing next to this tree that's probably about 150 years old. It's bent, like almost like you could sit in it. And I am now freaking out because this tree is not anywhere to be found on that property. And I know that because when I bought the property, I hiked that property all the time, every inch of it. I'm always looking for animal trails. I start freaking out. I let go of the sled, and now the light is on. And I'm literally high anxiety. I mean, I am thinking, I don't know where I am, and I've only taken about 200 steps. There's no way I should be lost. And I'm literally having an anxiety attack. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. What the hell happened here? I got freaked out so bad that when the light came, then all of a sudden the light comes back on my flashlight, and now I'm literally standing in front of the gate to go to my house. And at that point, I knew that some kind of game was played on me, or some kind. I look at it as a. I've learned that it's about a high anxiety training type method to get you used to the idea to be calm under any circumstance. So when something does happen, or you see something that you're not familiar with, that it's really no big deal at all. And I've had many experiences like that. And suddenly, about a week after that, I mean, I was just so relaxed. After that, when I get into the gate, because now I can get up to my property on my house. And it's about a week later. I met this girl at this fill plant. I used to drive truck in Montana. You take the oxygen bottles that you see people in Walmart with the green tops on top, and they're breathing the oxygen out. And, you know, I kept delivering to her every once a week. And we got to be friendly. And she liked me. And so I tell her stories, you know, about my experiences from a kid. She'd be smiling at me, you know, like, oh, isn't this cute? Guy's like 55 years old, and he believes in space aliens and blah, blah, blah. And I knew it. I knew that's what she was thinking. So we started dating, and I said, why don't you come up for the weekend? So she comes up for the weekend. I hiked around for a while. Got nighttime. I was sitting outside in front of my house in the cabin. She had her back to the cabin. And I'm kind of sitting there. I'm all calm. It's a nice night out. It's beautiful. Stars are out. I see one of the ships coming. It's going to come right over the cabin. So I'm waiting. I'm just kind of looking at it. I'm not saying anything to her. And right when I thought the timing would be right, I said, hey, you know, remember I told you all those stories about the ships and everything? And she kind of smiles. You know, I know what she's thinking. And all of a sudden, I says, why don't you do me a favor? Turn around and look at the roof of my house. And so she's looking, and all of a sudden, here comes the ship comes over the house. It's not making any noise. It's really going so super slow. She looks at it. She jumps out, says, do I have anything to worry about? She's kind of freaking out. I said, no. I said, if something was going to happen, it would happen to me a long time ago. As it went over her head, it pulsed. I mean, like a real big bright. I mean, it looked like it was twice its size with the light emitting off of it. She definitely believed then. And after that, I had several other people come up there and see the same thing. And some of them would tell me, oh, yeah, it's some secret military, you know, they have money in their black book projects and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I don't argue with these people because whatever they want to believe, that's up to them. And no matter what you say, they're not going to believe you anyway. It's kind of like these things. You don't know when people are telling you the truth or not. The only people who know whether they're telling the truth or not is the guy who's telling the story. So,
yeah, it's kind of hard.
you know,
to
I mean, really, if you come down to it, you can look at any video you want. You can look at any photo you want. You can listen to any story you want. There is always going to be that doubt in the people's mind because of the way the human condition is. That, yeah, it could be real, but you just never know. And I believe it's supposed to be that way. And I think a lot of times, it's like with the photos. I had never in my life, and all the times I'd seen the ships, even with my friend in Massachusetts down at Barry Falls and Rutland Park, same lights. I said to him one time, I said, have you ever wondered why we come down and we never bring a camera? Like, we never want to take a picture of this stuff? And he goes, why would we? And I always thought in my head, I said, you know, what if I take a picture, I try to take a picture, and then somehow it's kind of like it's a betrayal to them, and then suddenly you don't have any connection anymore. So I just kind of let it go with that. But that one night when I was in Montana, and I seen, I come out, I go outside, one of those ships had left, and I'm back in the house, and I get this thing in my head like I should go outside. And I go outside, and I see these multicolored lights sitting there in the sky. And in my mind, it's like something's talking to me. And so not literally in my mind, I'm talking back. And then it says, would you like to take some pictures? And I explained it. I said, I always thought that would be a betrayal. And for whatever reason, the being calls me Michael. My name is not Michael. But I had asked him, I said, well, what's your name? He said, we don't have names. He says, because we already know. And it's you gotta get into an analytical thing with these things. It's like, okay, so what does he mean by that? Well, it's like me right now. I don't know you. You could tell me your name is Joe Schmo. And but if I ever saw you in a supermarket, I still would know that it was the guy I was talking to because I can see your face. Your name doesn't really mean anything. And so they put things in a perspective. So I said, well, yeah. He says, it's going to be a gift. And I said, well, you know what? I says, I'd like to say that I'm never going to show these photos to anybody. I says, but I know being human, I says, chances are somewhere down the line, I'm going to want to show these photos to somebody. And he says, there's nothing to worry about. He says, because it's a gift to you. You will know they're real. Even if everybody doesn't believe you, it's your gift. And he says, and even if they did believe you and they did come up here, it's not like they can catch me anyways. So I took the photos. And then I knew when I went outside from times after that, when those images were there, I had things in my head and things were talking to me. And I knew at that point, the reason he put the images there were because I am very analytical. And yeah, I mean, literally, there's probably people out there that go out and see a plane flying by in the distance because they see the headlights in the front and they think, oh, it's got to be a spaceship. And then they start thinking it's talking to you. Well, that's just your imagination. You don't really have anything you're going on except those headlights of what was really a plane. These pictures that I take are not a plane. And and I've looked, one of the reasons I started a website is I wanted to see if anybody else had been, taking photos or seen these multicolored things and had this kind of connection. And either people aren't saying anything or it's just not happening. So I don't know which one it is. And a lot of people I can see don't want to say anything because, let's face it, unless you're on one of these websites or something here where you have some people saying, oh, yeah, they took my baby and, they're making hybrids and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to believe that stuff. I mean, that's one of the reasons you're not going to have disclosure now. You're not going to have some kind of disclosure where a president's going to come out. And as far as disinformation, people are their own disinformation. The people that download stupid videos of fake spaceships flying over a city that are gigantic, and yet they're the only ones and nobody else records it from anywhere else. That's all the disinformation you need, and the government doesn't have to do anything about that. They just let the people do it. So it's hard to tell when people are telling the truth. I think that, not that it's 100% guarantee, but I think if people really wanted to have some kind of proof, I think they'd be worth it to spend the $600 and go to a professional polygraph expert as well as a voice analysis person. And I don't mean just some guy who does it for a living. I mean somebody who does it for, say, the CIA and the NSA and whatever. And yeah, I guess you could possibly fake that, but they do have safeguards in those things that, it's the average guy is not going to be able to pull that off by making up a story and not having his nervous system jerk around and show that he's lying. But other than that, I don't think any of these things are really doing any good anymore, all these disclosure things and everything. And now it's gotten to the point where people are making money. And so naturally people are jealous when people make money. And so then they say it's all about money. And so then the credibility starts going away. I really just don't think it's going to be any kind of big deal where, everybody's going to get this big, giant, notification. You just get it leaked out from countries like Mexico or wherever it's coming from, and the people who believe will believe, and the rest of the people just don't even care, or they think it's full of crap. I mean, what goes on up there by you in Saskatchewan? You guys see anything up there?
Yeah, I've had my experience has started with dreams. I had them show up in a dream, my first experience, and the following night while I was out fishing at the lake there, they just appeared over the hills and then just went right across the lake. Three fireballs, like the orange fireballs, UFOs.
Yep.
Those are the ones that I see all the time. I don't know why I see those ones, but they're everywhere up here.
Well, it's funny. I had one of those when the girl was up there visiting me one night. One of the white ones came by, and right shortly, a short distance away was one of those red ones you're talking about. And I asked him about that. And the being that communicates with me said that the ones in the orange craft, they do not want the ones of the white craft having any kind of involvement with human beings at all. They don't want them, taking them or, experimenting with them, making contact with them or whatever. Because as soon as this orange one came, that white one took off. And so there's a possibility from what he says that these are other beings. They're not the gray or the big grays or whatever you want to call them. It's a completely different entity, and they just do not, you seeing a ball in the sky, let's face it, and having a dream, that's still going to be vague to most people. You know it because you're experiencing it, but most people aren't going to believe you. And so...
yeah, it's because, as far as I'm concerned, any real knowledge or learning has to come from direct experience or gnosis. Most people that live in this society are indoctrinated and really have only learned things through repetition, which is kind of what we're taught to do in school. We're told what's supposedly true, and then we're told to remember it and just divulge it back. There's not really any type of
there's no personal thought process in that.
Right, exactly.
One of the things I had an experience with my I've written a lot of blogs over the years, not just about UFOs, but about life in general. And I say, people don't appreciate the small things they have. For instance, a blind man would give up billions of dollars and every cent he had if he could see for a half an hour because he'd never even seen the sky. And I said a person who was crippled would do the same thing, who's never walked. And, and having no arms to hug their parents or pick up a pencil. These people would give up everything they have just to have what we have all the time. And I had written that stuff years before. And it was one day I was walking up through Snowdrift, it's another year, and it was after the experience of, being in front of the gate. It was and I'm walking up, and I mean, the wind is blowing. It's 20 below. I got snow hitting me in the face. It's going numb. My legs are killing me. The drifts are too heavy. I'm soaking wet with sweat. I am literally, and I've been doing this for months, and I'm like, you know, this sucks. I says, I've had it. I'm done with this shit. I wish I just dropped dead now. And I get up to where I'm going to go up that big hill. And one of those lights comes over the trees. And I hear the voice in my head. And I look and I go, and I call him Botel, B-O-T-L. And the only reason I call him that is because I consider that short abbreviation for being, what is it? Being of the light. So, so I'm up there and I'm disgusted. And I see the light and I hear him say in my head, "What's the matter, Michael?" And I said, Botel, I've had it. This is just this and life in general and whatever. And he says, "I'm really surprised." And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, did you not mean what you wrote years ago when you were writing that if you had, you'd give up anything to have legs and be able to see? And I says, "Yeah, I meant it." And he says, "Well, here you are pulling a sled up a hill. Your legs are tired. You got feeling the snow and coldness on your face, and you can pull your sled with your arms. And I'm surprised that you're complaining. Did you not mean what you said years ago?" He does that to me often. And when he does that, it makes me feel like a complete ass. Because it's like he's putting my own words under great circumstances that I said. But then when circumstances get bad, I somehow make it sound like I wasn't even serious back then. And you know what? After he said that, I'll tell you what. I never walked up through the snow as fast as I did. I was so happy after that. And I never felt sorry for myself again, no matter what happened. I'll tell you, when you have a contact, and I can understand why people think they're angels or whatever. And the universe is an awful big place. And these people who want to say, "Oh God, it's devil, it's angels, whatever." They have to realize that, it's not humans and then somehow one entity and then God. There is so much going on out in different dimensions and in the universe and whatever. Everything is a stepping stone for us. Really, somehow people think, well, because I believe that if I went to church and I believe that God is going to let me, be up there next to him on a throne, if I believe, then that's how it's going to be. That's not how really things are. Just because you think so doesn't make it so. It's like people who go to a gym and say, "I know I can bench 300 pounds," and I put 300 pounds and I go, "Man, I can't even move the damn thing." Yeah. So, there's different levels. You got to realize, yeah, you want to call them angels, you want to call them something else, it's fine, but don't confuse it with what really is going on up there. There's more going on than we could possibly know. There's all kinds of levels. I mean, I can see myself dying now at whatever, tomorrow at 80, whatever, and I can see my energy going to something else for X a period of time, and then I can see it going to somewhere else for a period of time. An eternity is an awful long time. And to think that when you can't even get along with the people down here, including most of your relatives, 24/7, why would you think that you're going to go to another area in the universe and just hang out with those people? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
My
Go
question
ahead.
to you is, do you think that the reason people are the way they are, is it because humanity is generally in an infancy stage, or do you think that it is a control mechanism through religion, through social engineering, through education systems, that people generally can't reach this level of understanding? Or is it just...
I actually think it's both.
Yeah, it's got to be both.
It's going to be both, because it's up to the individual to weed out what is fantasy and what is real. And we are programmed. There is no doubt we are programmed. But on the other hand, would me and you be talking about alien contact now had not somebody ever mentioned the word? Where do we come up with, where would, Area 51 or, monster movies or looking up and saying there must be something up there, and people telling stories, even if somebody's lying and saying, "Oh, I was abducted, and they did this to me," and whatever. Still, whether you believe that or not, some people do, and the story is out there, and then it keeps that dialogue going. You
Right.
know, it's regardless whether the story was true or not. Oh yeah, you know, if I walked up to somebody and I said, "Hey, do you believe there's life on other planets?" They go, "Oh yeah, there probably is." You know, it's up to the individual to make up his own mind. And let's face it, if you get bogged down with the life down here, and you know what, you never can think clearly when you're in with groups of people because you can't focus. You know, you can't focus when somebody's, you know, when somebody says to you, "Oh Jesus, you know, my wife last night, what a bitch," you know, I mean, really pissed me off. And then the kids, your mind is not clear. You're focusing on that, and you talking about it really doesn't change the situation. And all you do is get into a negative thing, and then you can't think straight. It's kind of like, what does the Tibetan monks do? You know, I mean, they're living a very, you know, simple life, but their mind is clear. You know, yeah, they probably think about, "Oh gee, I wish the world was better," and whatever. But most of the time, they're trying to focus on being calm, to do good to other things. You know, whether it's go buy 500 lobsters out the lobster boat and throw them back out in the ocean. You know, it's like one of the guys that did that. They bought, you know, I forget how many lobsters, and the lobster boat was coming in and said, "Oh, we want to buy all your lobsters," and it was thousands of dollars. And they said, "We want to take your boat back out and throw them back in the water." And the guy in the lobster boat said, "You do know we're going to catch those again." And the Tibetan monk said, "Yeah, but they're still going to live today." You know, that's how they live. It's very hard to have your mind. I think one of the reasons, see, I believe I was actually driven to go to that mountain because I do not believe, I know it, I would not have the contact I have now, even though I was living on my 12 acres in Hubbardston, Massachusetts, and I was seeing the lights coming over the trees when I'd go down Barry Falls at the end of the road, Rutland State Park, even with a friend of mine, Scott. But I knew they were going to be everywhere. Something made me go to that mountain because things happened as soon as I got there, and they became more frequent than they ever had. Early on when this started happening, my first experience was 3 or 4 years old. You know, this whole anal probing thing, this comes to mind here. I was laying in bed, and I can't remember whether I was 3 or 4, but I know I was small enough that, you know, my mom came in the room, in my little bedroom, and, you know, leaned me up in her arms. And because what happened was I was sleeping, and now I know what a prostate is, you know, because I'm older now. So back then I didn't know what it was. But I felt this sharp pain in my prostate, and it woke me up. I mean, it hurt bad, and I was a little kid. Now, as soon as I opened my eyes, I saw this ball of light in my room. I can't remember whether the window was open or closed. Probably was closed because I was thinking boogeymen were going to come and get me. And I saw this ball of light, and as soon as I woke up, the pain was kind of gone, but I was crying. I was scared. My mother came in the room, and she asked me what happened. And I said, "Pain, pain, here." And then I said, "Light." You know, I couldn't talk very much. And she told me, she said, "Oh, those are growing pains. You're going to be a big boy." And you know, and the light was just a bad dream and blah, blah, blah. You know, and I, little kid, okay, forgot about it. And then it was about 4 years later, I was camping in the back of my sister's house in Shirley, Massachusetts. My cousin was going to be there. Back then, there wasn't very much, many houses around there at all. And they had pitched a tent in the back right next to the trees. And he had me and my cousin, and we were out there playing a tent all day, and then playing fish, goldfish, whatever, those card games. And so all of a sudden, you know, it got to be where it was getting dark, and they called us in the house, and I asked if we could stay in the tent for the night. I was only about, you know, 50 feet away from the back of the house on the tree line. And I said, "Yeah, here's some, you know, here's a sleeping bag, and here's a flashlight." So me and my cousin, he was about a year younger than me, so I guess he was maybe 8 or something, whatever. And we're playing cards, and all of a sudden, I hear something coming through the woods. It's crunching. Well, before that happened, my brother-in-law came out on the porch, and he's going, "Boo," you know, and we're laughing. You can tell it's coming from the house. Then he went in the house. We're playing the cards, and I hear something walking. And I says, "Oh, it must be Howard. He must be sneaking through the woods, and he's coming. He's going to try to scare us." And I said, "Hey, when he gets close enough, let's yell and scream, and we'll scare him." So we're waiting. When it's walking through the woods, it sounded like, you ever blow on top of a beer bottle? It makes that kind of weird, you know, and that's what I thought he was doing. It got near the tent, who I thought was him, and we yelled. And you could hear him running through the woods, and we're laughing now. Well, Howard all of a sudden comes out on the back porch and yells and says, you know, be quiet, we're trying to sleep in here. Well, we freaked out, got out of the tent, ran to him, and I said, something's out there, and I told him about the sound of the bottle, and he said, oh, you know, there's been a lot of bobcat sightings up here. Maybe it's a bobcat. I'll grab a flashlight, and we'll go see if we can find any tracks. And I was a punky kid, I always was, and so he's walking in the woods and he's looking on the ground for, you know, crap and everything like that. And all of a sudden I look up and there's, we're in the woods, maybe about, you know, 50, 60 feet in. About a quarter of a mile away, there's one of those white ships. It's the first time I ever actually saw a ship other than the white ball in my room. And it's sitting there. And I said to him, I says, oh, look, a helicopter. He said, and my brother-in-law, he said, that's not a helicopter. It's not making any sound. Well, he had the flashlight hanging down on his arm. Me being a punky kid, I grabbed that flashlight and I shined it in the direction of where the ship was. And I said, death beam, just being a punky kid. That thing disappeared like it shot like you wouldn't believe, gone. And everything started picking. So I averaged back then, and then, you know, a few years later, something like that would happen. And I was averaging, I figured it out maybe when I got to way over 21. I said, you know, things are happening about maybe every 4 years that I can remember. Once I was in Hubbardston, there would be weeks at a time where every weekend it would happen. Then I wouldn't see him for a month. Then it would happen. And then I'd go up to New Hampshire. One time I told my brother, I said, oh, we need to go up to New Hampshire. And I said, you feel like taking a ride on Friday night? He says, what do you want to go up to New Hampshire for? I said, I don't know. I said, I just feel like taking a ride. When he comes over about 7 o'clock, it's about a 4-hour ride where I'm going to go. North Conway. I just knew it was way up there. I'd never been there. We get in the car, and I'm talking about aliens and spaceships and all kinds of stuff. And I says, I think they know when you're looking for them. And I says, and I think that's why they come out. All of a sudden, a ball of light shoots across the road up in New Hampshire. We hadn't got to Conway yet. I jam on the brakes. We get out. It was winter time. Snow was everywhere. I'm looking at the woods. I don't see it. I said, you see that? I mean, we're all excited. We're hyperventilating. I mean, we're just, oh, yeah, you know. Kept on. I says, we need to find a place to pull over. So I'm looking around and I see this one road. There's no houses, no lights, street lights, nothing. I says, oh, look at that. And it looked like one of these big places that where city trucks would park their trucks if they were plowing snow. And it was all like plowed out, but there was big banks in the front on the road. And I says, well, we'll pull my car in there. And I says, and we'll back up close to the bank. It's now like 12:30 at night. And I says, we got to hide the car and we'll get out there. And I said, because we don't want any cops seeing us up here because they're going to ask me, where do you come from? What are you doing up here and whatever. So we get up. So I'm backing up the car and I roll down the window to make sure I'm not going to hit some snowbank or something. And all of a sudden I hear what sounds like little children's, the pitch. You know how kids have a different tone than a full grown person? Yeah. Like a real, you know, kid voice type thing. Yeah. And it sounded like 2 or 3 kids out there speaking some kind of language. There's no way. It didn't sound like it was Russian or French, but just making these noises. Well, I said to my brother was up with me, and I said, oh, crap, there's somebody out there. He goes, what do you mean there's somebody out there? I says, maybe somebody was ski-mobiling or something. And I said, we got to get out and look for ski-mobile tracks. I says, I know, I heard something. He goes, I didn't hear nothing. He gets out of the car. He goes, I just heard it. I says, okay, looking around, no ski-mobile tracks. I said, let's walk over there towards the woods. We start walking towards the woods, and I start hearing this humming sound. And I said, and we're whispering. I mean, we're whispering. I says, do you hear that? He says, yeah, what is it? And I says, oh, you know what? Maybe it's just the engine of the car because we just drove 4 hours in the real cold and the expansion of the motor is making some kind of sound. And I says, let's go back to the car. Walk by the car, know the sound was coming beyond the car now. So I start walking towards those woods. Then all of a sudden, we hear this. A pop. I said, you hear that? And we're whispering. He goes, yeah. Then all of a sudden I hear, now that sounded like it came behind us. Then we hear, and I said, now it's in front of us. Then we hear this. And it was surrounding us. And I said, it's got to be them. It's got to be them, right? So so all of a sudden I hear the humming sound now, and it's towards our right down this little embankment. I go, they're down there. Me and my brother go walking towards the edge. Don't see anything. I don't see any light. I don't see anything. It's just dark woods. So pretty soon so I look at my brother and I say, why are we whispering? I says, yeah, why are we even whispering? I says, they obviously must know we're here. And he goes, yeah, why are we whispering? We're getting kind of ballsy. So I yell down in the woods and I go, why don't you come on out? A ball of light shoots up that was not there before and goes right up in the sky. I look at my brother. We are not excited. We are not freaking out like, oh, did you see that? No. I looked at him and I felt dead. I felt like I had just done something so terribly wrong. And I look at him and he goes, they're gone. And I says, yeah. He goes, I feel awful. And I says, yeah, I do too. I says, I think we screwed up. So we left and went back home. We never even talked about it, like, oh, that was cool or whatever. Actually felt like by doing that, it sucked the life out of us. And but like I said, once I got to Montana, it was like things. What used to happen is I'd be going up to my place, and I had a pickup truck, and I'd take my keys, and when I get up to my gate, because my driveway is long, but my gate is to block off people from being able to drive right up to my house. And it's maybe, you walk up to my house on my little dirt road from the gates, maybe, 500 feet or something. And I put my keys on the top of my dash over on the right-hand corner. There's a thing, and key to the gate, because I didn't always want to have to shut my truck off to open the gate. And I put the key up there. I always did. It's guaranteed, because when I get home, I got to get through the gate. Get home, the key is gone. I says, crap, must have fell down and bounced in the car or something. I'm ripping that car apart. I can't find it. I say, the hell with it. I says, you know what? I'm not even going to waste my time with this. Tomorrow after work, I'm going to go to Big R, which is like one of these stores that sell wires and horse stuff and lock. It just sells all kinds of stuff. I said, I'm just going to buy a lock. I'll cut this one off, get another key, and the heck with this. Next morning, I go down. I drive to work. I come, and I'm driving home. And I go, shit! I'm already like 30 miles from my work. I got 30 more miles to go. I said, I'm not turning around to get a lock. I says, the hell with it. I'll just walk up again tonight. Get up to my driveway. Suddenly the key is there. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. Next time, cell phone gone. Used to wear a Carhartt one-piece suit for wintertime. Take my cell phone, put it in my top shirt pocket, zip it, so if I fell in the snow, phone wouldn't fall out. Take my CDL driver's license, stick it in another pocket. Can't lose that, because I drive truck. What if I can't find my license tomorrow and I have to step on a scale? I'm screwed. So next day, I go to work, everything's fine. I come home, cell phone is gone. My driver's license is gone. I'm in my pants pocket. I'm in my zipper. I'm going, oh, you got to be fucking shitting me. I says, this is not cool. I says, I can replace a cell phone. Who cares? I says, my CDL, first of all, I don't have 2 forms of ID anymore, and all this kind of crap. And I says, and I got to drive truck tomorrow. I says, you got to be crapping me. I says, well, I'm going to have to go down and talk to the people at the thing and just kind of like hope that they do something. Then I got chickened out. I said, no, forget it. I'm going to drive the truck. I drove the truck. I didn't have to go over a scale. I said, you got to be kidding me. I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Went back home that night, grabbed my Carhartt. Only had 1 pair, put them on. Cell phone's in the pocket, so is my CDL. It's like, and at that point, I knew that not only were I was just seeing these lights and these things were talking to me, but they were taking things for whatever reason and then putting them back. So I look at it, and like I said, I'm very analytical, and I do believe they do these things to get you prepared.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like you say you see them in a dream state.
Yeah. They're kind of putting you into that state of like a multi-dimensional awareness almost, because they're popping in doing things, removing them from the physical and putting them back. Something's going on greater than the physical reality that we're conditioned to believe is real. Like there's something beyond that they're kind of making you definitely aware of.
Well, they're preparing me.
Yeah.
Put it this way. When I finally made contact as far as being on a ship and being wide awake, laying down, looking in his face. I was laying on this like table, and I'm in a white light. I mean, it looks just like the ship. I mean, I can't see any detail inside the ship. I mean, I'm laying on my back. I literally can't move. I got my eyes open and I'm thinking, okay, I don't care. Just go with this. Just go with it. I'm wide awake. I don't care. Just go with it. I'm not freaking out. I'm not nervous. I'm like, I just don't even care anymore. And I'm in this white light, and I can't, like, when you're in a lights on, you can see contours of a roof or, your ceiling or whatever. I can't see anything but this white light, and I'm laying on my back, and I went to try to move my neck, and I couldn't move my head back and forth because I wanted to kind of look to the right and I wanted to look to the left, and I couldn't move. I could only look straight up. And within like a blink of an eye or something, I've got this like multicolored light. I mean, like some of these pictures I've taken, this light looks like a disc. It's maybe, 23, 24 inches in diameter. And it's going around. And in the white light, you see this multicolored light, and that the lights are so beautiful. I mean, I could not even think about, oh, where am I? I guess they took me. What's going on here? I wonder if I'm going to get back. And none of that was in my head. All as I could do was focus on that multicolored light and how beautiful those colors were. And they're flashing in my face. And I'm just looking at that. And suddenly, within a blink of an eye, it's gone. And I'm back in the white. I sense something coming from my right. And here comes this being. And I sense it, and suddenly I can see it because I can see out of the corner of my eye, and it leans over where I'm laying, and he looks in my face. He gets right down in my face, and he looks right in my eyes. I am not freaked out, and he says nothing, but I could feel him. It's like it's not like having a conversation. It's kind of like I could feel his emotions. Kind of like if you see a little kid who suddenly is not acting the way it used to act, there's something wrong, even though the kid isn't saying anything. And I felt this. It was at that time is when I started hearing those voices in my head, was after that night at 2008. Now, you got to realize this stuff had been happening since the 1960 or 61. And all these other things had been happening. Never before had I had a dream or had a nightmare that some, alien was looking over me. Never, not once. And I used to think about that. I said, geez, I think about these things all the time. I watch all kinds of harm, and I never have a bad dream like that. And so then that was like, oh, Jesus, maybe a month. So all I could think about when I went back to my house was like, I feel myself going back. I felt myself falling back, and I'm back in my bed, and I go, oh, and I'm thinking, so I go outside, and I look up, and I see one of those ships, and there it goes. But I don't know, it could have been a week, a month. It's hard to remember. I go outside, and I start seeing those multicolored lights in the sky. That's when he asked me to take the picture. That's how I knew it was him. And that's how I knew when he talked to me that it was real. And I do believe it's a part of a training. I mean, if like for instance, you see these things in a dream state. Now, us as men particularly, we think we're pretty badass. You don't know me. I can kick ass. I can do anything. I'm tough. But there's a difference between being tough and being tough with things that than having no control and seeing something that in your mind is not from here. If you see a grizzly when you're walking through the woods and it's chasing you, yes, you have fear. You're afraid you're going to get eaten or killed, but you know what a grizzly is. When you see things that are not from here, you literally can have a stroke or go into shock if you're not in some type of dream state.
That's why there's not disclosure happening, because if that did happen on a public scale, most of the people in society, that would probably happen to them instantly, just because they're not conditioned enough to accept these realities, I would assume and imagine.
Well, of course. I mean, if think about it, if you see if things are happening if in a dream state, you might as well consider that almost like going to a doctor and having an operation where they gave you a shot in the arm and, you know, you don't really remember anything. You know what I mean? You wake up and you see all these, geez, I've been cut wide the hell open. Gee, I didn't feel anything. I didn't even know the operation was over yet. So if they put you in a dream state to, you know, let you have some type of experience or make a connection, that's like your first step to being able to get to the really reality of seeing them, not just the ship. Because let's face it, seeing a white ship coming over your house, yeah, okay. Your mind can still say, yeah, they're probably the Greys, they're this, they're that. But you still don't really know. You can't say, oh, yeah, I can see them driving it right now, so I know exactly what it is. So these things that are set up in a dream state, it's for your own benefit. Because
do you not think that they exist in these alternate dimensions that could be associated with dreams? Like,
well, you know, I believe, I mean, I do believe that there's probably other kind of dimensional things going on where, you know, your spirit or your energy or your thought process may be going into a whole nother dimension, with some kind of connection to some kind of, and I know that to be true, and I'll tell you why. When you have contact in the physical sense like I've had, you get to experience other things as well. And I have a photo that I will send to you. And I was laying in, and a lot of times there was one night I was laying in bed, and I got the voice in my head, and it says, Michael, I want you to take a picture. And I'm like tired, I'm cold, I don't want to go outside in the cold, I'm naked, and I kind of in my head said, you know, Bartel, I really don't feel like coming outside right now. I said, I'm really exhausted. And it might sound strange to some people, like, oh, I'd be going out every night. When it's been going on forever, believe me, you get so used to it that you know they're going to be there. It's not like, oh, this is the last time I'm going to see you, I got to say goodbye. And so he says, no, I want you to take your cell phone behind you, and I want you to take a picture up while you're laying in bed up towards the window. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, take your camera from your phone and take a picture. Suddenly I've got this smoke coming in my room, and I'm thinking, oh, what the hell, a freaking wood stove or something screwed up. But it's only in my room. It's not coming from the kitchen where the wood stove is. And I'm thinking, well, it's not the stove. I got up. So I take a picture of the smoke, and I take some more pictures. And I get on my camera, and I'm looking at the picture. And I said, you got to be kidding me. He tells me that there are other places and other dimensions where you would be in there, and say it's not a nice place. You remember yourself for what you looked like. Not necessarily that's how you look like now. You remember, you know, you had long hair, you had, you know, this, whatever. And that's how you see yourself. In this photo I will send you, he told me there are places that if you get lost in there, it is one of the most horriblest places you could ever be.
yeah.
For instance,
Take a DMT trip gone bad.
oh yeah, well it's kind of like think of this. Every fear that you've ever had, every smell that you hated more than anything on earth, it is a dark place. Things are bumping into you. There is no sleep, and you don't need it, but you think you do, and you're tired. There is never anything going on in there. You smell these foul smells, even though you're really not smelling anything. It's just what you remember. And there's and in this photo, if you look at towards the right of the photo and up a little bit, and you look at it really closely, you will see a woman's face with long brown hair, and you will see her skeleton fingers that looks like she's trying to look behind something. Now, before I had taken this photo, for 2 weeks before this photo, and he told me to take this photo, I'd be sleeping at night, and I would wake up because I was soaking wet. Not because I was sweating, but my hair would be wet, my pillow would be wet. It would look like I was dunked in the water. And I'd go, what the? And the only thing that woke me up wasn't that I got wet, was because I felt like something was laying on top of me. And I'd wake up and I'd go, what the hell? And I thought, Jesus Christ, I wonder if I'm dying or something. This went on for like 2 weeks. This was before he asked me to take the photo. Because I thought I was dying. I thought I was sick. I'd never had anything. I didn't feel sick. And I wasn't like sweating like, oh, God, I got the fever. The reason he had me take that photo was so he could have that conversation with me to tell me what goes on in some of these dimensions. And he wanted me to have a photo so he knew that I wasn't just thinking in my own imagination that maybe this wasn't really happening and whatever. Like I said, I need verification. I can't just, even though I've had all these experiences, consider every experience that I have and I analyze it to death before I take it as fact. Because I do not want to slip into the thing where I start believing that every voice that I have in my head and my conscience, it's him. I need verification, and I'm lucky enough and have come a long way. You got to realize I'm 60 years old now, and this has been going on for so long. This didn't happen. These photos and this contact, other than missing and popping up on the hill and disappearing and whatever, all this stuff happened before finding that connection in 2008. Now you're talking going from 2008 all the way back to 1960. So this, even for me, a strong, I was in the Marines, you know, I've been married, divorced several times. I've been busted up. I'm not some guy who's just like, oh, you know, I'm crybaby, whatever. But I need verification every time. And I verify it now. If I go outside and I see a light and it's flying over, I first have to make sure, and I look at it and I make sure it's not some satellite that's way up there, or, you know, some plane headlights heading coming my way and I just don't hear the plane yet because the sound hasn't got to me, and then all of a sudden it turns and I didn't notice it. I make sure that whatever I see, that it is what I think it is. Otherwise, I just think, oh yeah, it must have been a plane. And so that's why that I'm very lucky that he lets it be very visual for me. And but you're right. I do believe that there are other dimensions, and you're right. I mean, if it's kind of like having astral projection.
Yeah. Exactly.
Many years ago, like most people that are in these subjects, I mean, I was in my early 20s. I got into everything: pyramid power, magnetic power, and Bigfoot, whatever, anything that was strange. I was there, and then it was because of these instances that I had with these lights and all this stuff, and the pain on my back as a kid, and then those spaceships and whatever, that get me interested in all the kind of weird stuff. And so I had this astral projection tape, and it was by a guy named Llewellyn, Lleyn or something. Guy was great. There was no smoking, all this kind of stuff, and it was about astral projection. And on one side, it was a subliminal side, and then the other side, he talked to you. Oh, just relax your right leg, your left leg. Oh, let the light go up and down and all this stuff. And I never listened to that side. I liked the subliminal side. It was like some kind of suggestions in with ocean crashing on the rocks with, whatever. And I let myself go. And within 5 minutes, I was gone. And I'd be like flying outside my house. I'd be like going places. I'd be into New York. First time I left, I was literally grabbing at the telephone wires because I kept going up higher and higher, and I was starting to get scared. Another time I was on a roof of a house and I couldn't fly anymore. And so suddenly I said, you got to jump off. I said, yeah, I jump off. It's like one of those dreams you kill yourself. I jumped off. As soon as I was ready to touch the ground, forget it. I just float. Well, I did this. I got so addicted that when I left Raytheon, I'd get out. I was working from 7 to 3. I'd hurry up and get home and put that tape in. I was living 2 different worlds, 2 different lives. But the last time I listened to it, I woke up like I always did, and I got out of bed, and I went to get dressed, and suddenly I realized I was still not awake. Turned around and looked, I saw myself laying there, so I shook my head like, oh, Jesus Christ, wake yourself up. So then I go, okay. Yeah, but it was bad. Yeah, my problem was I shook my head and thought I was awake, and I still wasn't awake. This went on 3 times until finally I really did get awake. And I never did it again after that.
And then you can't distinguish what's real, because you can't tell if you're back in the reality you came from or you're somewhere else because it's just so you can't tell the difference. Like it's
No, you can't. You
huge.
can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
You know, there is no way that I could tell the difference. It wasn't like, oh yeah, this is a dream, you know, kind of whatever, lucid dream. No, you could not tell the difference. And I mean, I was shaking. I mean, I literally after that point, I said, I can't do this anymore. What's going to happen if one time I don't somehow go back and my body just dies, or I had a stroke, or whatever happened, and you know, I'm venturing out here. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, do I go black? Does something happen here?
Well.
So after that, I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was unbelievable. So then years later, um, I was talking to a guy at Raytheon, and I said, "Oh yeah, I used to listen to these astral projection tapes." And he goes, "Oh, that sounds kind of cool." He goes, "You still got the tape?" I says, "Yeah, I don't listen to it anymore." I says, "You can have it." And he goes, "Yeah, I want to listen to it." I says, "Okay, but you got to kind of go with it." I says, "Don't try to fight it, or you won't go anywhere." I gave him the tape. Next day, he goes, "Oh man, he says, I can't believe all that stuff about the Sphinx and the vehicle," and he's telling and he's telling me about pyramids, and I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" He says, "Yeah, that's what the tape says." I says, I had no clue. I never listened to it, you know, because I was always listening to the subliminal side. But yeah, I mean, if in your mind you believe it's real, then of course to you it is real.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be real to you. It doesn't matter if everybody tells you that it's not. In your mind, if you believe it's real, to you it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, how are you gonna? And of course, you're gonna tell everybody, no, it's not real. But you're right. I mean, if you have lucid dreams or you're doing astral projection or something, I mean,
Well,
you could literally get lost.
well, I'm more akin to think that that's the reality and this is not. Like this is just something that we're kind of trapped in, and that's really who we really are. That's like our soul essence. So I remember when I was in a lucid dream where I had problems getting back to, it was like I was moving around. I didn't have a body. I was just a soul, and I didn't move physically. I moved with my mind wherever I wanted to. But well, somehow I came back. When I came back, I had like 3 or 4 false awakenings where I was in my bed and I got up and I was still out of body, and I went back and then I got up and I was still out of body. Took 3 or 4 times. It finally came back, but it was just like wow. Like, it seems like anything's
Yeah.
possible,
Which
right?
one
Like
is real?
yeah, yeah, but how do you define real? It's
Well,
like that
there's
quote in
a
the Matrix, right? So it's
yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Let's face it. We compared to a universe, we're as dumb as rocks.
yeah,
I
no,
mean, you know, I gave somebody an analogy one time. I said, you know what? I says, as humans, we think we're pretty smart. You know, I know, you know, whatever. I says, but let me tell you something. Let's say we had some kind of giant mega computer and we stored from the lowest IQ'd man to the highest IQ'd people every bit of every thought in that computer. Now we have everything that's in everybody's mind and what they thought. Now we take that computer and we go outside and we point to a distant star and we say, what is the name of the planet next to that star? The computer would say there's not enough information. That's how much we know. We don't know anything.
yeah. Well,
When it comes to a universe and what's up there, everything is just like, you know, we really have no way.
there's a theory that Elon Musk just started talking about. It's been around for a while, but it's a simulation theory, and it talks about how technology gets so advanced. Like, for example, like gaming gets to the point where it's indistinguishable from reality, and all the information is basically like it gets so advanced that it's just it's you can't tell the difference, right? Like so,
No,
the theory is that if other advanced civilizations have existed and have evolved past us, they've more than likely gotten to that point where knowledge, consciousness has been backed up into some sort of computing system where it's like another reality that's basically like a virtual reality. And when we're astral projecting or we're going out of body or we're dreaming, we're actually outside of this type of simulation and we're kind of in, I don't know, the ether of what's real. And being here on this planet is kind of like and being conditioned to everything that we see and feel is kind of almost like an actual virtual reality or a simulation that we could be backed up in as a result of these beings. Like maybe one type of being has put us here, and there's other ones that are trying to enlighten us, and it's kind of like something's going on, very similar to like what the Matrix movie proposes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's kind of like how I look at it. Like that's my theory on everything. It just seems like everything that's here in this world is very limited, and just when you have these types of experiences, encounters with other beings, it's like, whoa, there's a whole universe, an infinite multiverse with different dimensions. Like, we're missing out on so much, right? Like, and
Oh yeah.
I
mean,
I think these UFOs and these beings are a gateway to it, but also I think it could be a trap, which kind of leads me back to my next question about the red orb UFOs. I see them a lot with the white ones. The white ones are usually higher altitude, but sometimes when they show up, they're both there and they're both doing different things in the sky. It's almost like they're countering each other. I'm just kind of wondering.
they don't. It is. They don't get along, I guess is the best way to say it. Not that one would shoot one out of the sky, because then that brings the whole problem with not wanting to be involved and having pieces of a ship on the ground. Not all life in the universe wants to have any kind of contact with any other life form on this planet. They, it's kind of like people down here. I heard a gunshot. Don't look out the window. What do you want to get us involved? What one race decides to do, it's just like us down here. Somebody says, yeah, I got to go out tonight, and I got to tranquilize a bear, and I got to put a collar around his neck, and whatever. Now, okay, that sounds good. Somebody else is saying, how dare you do that to that poor animal? That poor animal, what, you're going to stab it with a needle just so you can follow it around with something on its neck? There's no difference between us with that kind of situation and some of the entities that are up there that don't want, these other entities coming down and abducting people and taking things and, marking them up. It's like, because that opens up the scenario to start making questions happening, and the more questions that are asked and the more people get involved in something, well, that makes it kind of harder to say, well, now we got to go back so everybody forgot the whole thing. You kind of opened up the Pandora's box.
Yeah, it's obvious that there's a hierarchy going on that doesn't stop at human civilization. Like, it just kind of extends out, and we're kind of just...
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. Human civilization...
logical thinking that people totally can't even comprehend for whatever reason. Well, the reasons we kind of know, but that's what a lot of mentalities are stuck in. So it's unfortunate. But going about your contact experience, do you know who they are specifically? Like, do you know?
I know he comes from the Orion belt. Matter of fact, he comes from a planet that is, or they come. He was taller. He was probably, I'm thinking he was 5'8" versus the little grays that were at the bottom of the bed at one time. But they were with him. But he's like the boss or the leader or whatever you want to call him. He's the one who makes the decisions. He's the one who sends them to do what they need to do. But if you look at the Hunter, where Orion's belt is, if you're looking up at that, and you look and you're looking up, when you stick your left hand out, and let's say you want to touch that one star that's at the top on the left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you take Orion, you got 2 dots on the top. You got the 3 going across as the belt, and then you have the 2 on the bottom.
Okay.
If you take your right hand up while you're facing it, and that further star that's up on the left, they come up from in that area right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's not like they're coming. It's in that area, and they don't name planets like we do.
Yeah.
All the things we've called like the moon and everything. That's not what they call it. It's a big deal for them to try to, to try to convert. You're having a normal conversation with them, and they're like, they know what you mean because they can see it in your head. But other than that, your words are totally different. You say, oh yeah, that's the Orion. It's like, it's kind of like getting in an argument with, we're down here on this planet, and I look, and I've been raised, and I says, oh, that's green, that's a green tree, that's a yellow flower, that's a red rose, that's a rainbow. You go someplace else, they might say, what are you talking about? That's blue, that's purple, the words we created down here are not universal to other planets and other life.
No, they're severely limited. I mean, it's kind of like it enslaves us, our own vocabulary and our linguistic system. It doesn't convey really any meaning. Like, real meaning comes from, like you said, you had experienced with the lights over you and the emotion that you felt from that, and then the telepathy that you experience in communicating with them when they talk to you and such. And that's why they don't obviously use names and things like that, because it's much more in depth. It's really something that transcends words. Like, words are impossible to describe, what you're feeling.
Well, it's kind of like a number. We're full of emotion. Now, me and you and 5 of our friends, we all knew this one guy, and we liked this guy to death, and he died. So me and you, all these guys, were going to his funeral. All of a sudden, I start crying. You're kind of tearing up, but not too much. Another guy's not crying at all. Now, yet we go to another world. Something expires, and nobody has any look on their face at all. So you're looking at them, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, these beings don't even care at all." But yet, in their mind, they all have the number 7.
Okay. Yeah.
Meaning, they all really like the guy, the same.
Yeah.
They all miss him. Now, just because I don't show emotion doesn't mean that my number 7 in my brain isn't just as much hurtful to me as you crying or thinking your emotions are somehow over mine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's a lot of things that go on, and we are extremely limited. And you got to realize we've only had 200 years of the industrial age, and the only reason that we've come as far as we are now is because of the computer. Instead of going to the library and having to look up a book that we hope they have, we get to go on Google or whatever and try to weed through whatever's bullshit and whatever we believe is real. Mm-hmm. And that is the only reason we're at the point we are now as far as technologically, and because, what? 100 years ago, mention the word computer. Yeah. What are you talking about? Oh, digital cameras. What the hell are you talking about?
The thing is, we don't really know, the true history. There's theories that
my
civilization is far more advanced than we are now, with technologies that are far more cleaner and just more sophisticated. Like, we don't really know. We're just told certain things, but who really knows, right?
Well, and the other thing is, think of this. Now, as far back as we can remember, we have eventually started killing each other. Now, whether it was me and my mate on one side of this hill, and suddenly you and your mate are on the other side of the hill. No big deal. We wave, we talk, communicate every once in a while. But we're living our own lives. Now, I have 5 kids, you have 6 kids, I have 10 kids, they have kids, Pretty soon now, we're getting closer to each other people's property. Now we start retaliating because we think the other person's encroaching. So we start killing each other. Now, this has been going on forever down here. Yeah. Now, had we been a completely different civilization where we all work together, in other words, we have a virus. Everybody works on trying to destroy and work on how to kill that virus. We don't set up situations where, well, if we have the funding, we can do it. If we don't, well, we just don't have the money. if they never got involved with the money, anything they put their mind to and all working together for the same thing, there wouldn't be, you would get so far advanced much faster than where you are now.
Yeah.
Because you're always working to knock out that one problem and you're not worried about fending or trading gold or vegetables for something else or whatever, that you all were in it together.
Well, I think that all boils down to is that, like, there's technology, and then there's consciousness, and then there's our bodies, our chakra systems, our soul, and our spirit essence. And I think that's the ultimate technology. I don't think that I almost feel like this technology is almost attempting to enslave and control and just spy on us. But if we really knew who we were, first of all, what we were capable of, all our psychic senses were activated, we wouldn't need any of this. We wouldn't be fighting each other. We would be united because we knew the truth of who we are. And it seems like there's almost like some sort of conspiracy or something, some force that's deliberately causing us to war with each other and making us think contrary to the truth of who we are. That's kind of my theory on it. A lot of people seem to think that it's tied into, well, maybe the reptilian race or some sort of race that's been doing this just for their own greed or whatever. They're maybe siphoning our energy somehow or some sort of control for whatever nefarious reason. But it seems like that. I mean, do you get what I'm kind of saying?
Yeah, and I'm not so sure on that because of human emotions. Because whether you're married or not, or you have children or whatever, there is a point you love them. I mean, you'd give your life for them, and there are other times that you don't really care for them too much. Now, the only thing that's making you do that is your own emotion. It's not some devil on your shoulder saying, hey, you should be pissed off at them right now, don't you think?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is the human problem. It's because
what is the human emotion? It's like these beings, they don't tend to exhibit a lot of it. They're kind of a matter of fact with everything. It seems like we're kind of congested down here in these energies that
we are congested. They are a matter of fact. It's very a matter of fact. There's no laughing.
Yeah.
There's no there's no anything that we can tell, that we can see what we think emotion is. But look at animals. Now we know animals love their young and whatever, but they sniff it when it's dead and they move on. Some animals, they're domesticated. Yeah, they'll hang out by the animal, and some animals are more domesticated than others, and they'll cry over the mother, and monkey won't leave it because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But other animals, I had wolves before, Alaskan timber wolves, and my wife at the time was working at a pet store, and I had a male and a female, and she had six cubs, and they were all about 5 months old now, and they were all males. And I had them in the pen, and she came home, my wife, and she says, oh, honey, it was a bad day. All of a sudden, all the dogs started to die. And I said, wow, that's weird. And she goes, yeah. Within about an hour of that, my wolves were dropping to the ground and dying. The 6 5-month-old wolves, one died, another one within a minute died. Next, I was carrying them out of there as fast as I could. The mother survived and the father survived. But what she did was she sniffed them. She knew they were dead. And when they were all out of there and I carried them all out and buried them, she was wagging her tail to me and acted like nothing ever happened at all.
Yeah.
Because they knew they were dead, and they didn't just sit there and say, oh God, my life is miserable now. I got to keep, mourning. It's kind of like, how do you move on? It's like these people who say, oh, I'm going to go to heaven and all this stuff. And I said, oh, my grandmother, I know she saved me today and whatever. And it's like, okay, so let me get this straight. You assume that your grandmother is in this heaven kind of place, and she's at peace, and she's so happy, and she's whatever. And suddenly you run into a problem, and she has to step out of being happy to go down to help you. Then she never really left. How can you leave if you keep thinking back to things that were going on when you should have let them go?
Exactly.
You never left the area. You need to leave. You need to cut it. You need to forget it. You need to make it look like it never happened.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you never leave. It's like these people talk about their ex-wife.
You get stuck in a perception, and really life is all about letting go. Like there's a
oh, my ex-wife, you know, that bitch, you know, I did everything for her. She was good. And it's like, well, when's the last time you saw her? I haven't seen her for 8 years, and you're still talking about her? You know what I mean? It's like, move on. You know, you have a child that dies. It's sad. Yeah, it's awful. It's like it sucked the life out of you.
Yeah. Well,
do you want to go? Do you want to go to the grave every day?
Yeah.
Do you want to keep thinking about it 24/7? Your life is over.
Well, that leads back to what I'm saying. Like people just don't realize who they are and that they are actually eternal, and that they can revisit, you know, these people in, you know, different realities and different, you know, depending on where they focus their attention, because that's really what it's all about. Like your attention, your focus, your perception, all that can lead you to pretty much anywhere. But people are just so bogged down that, oh, death is the end. It's so bad. Like, but really, like from a higher perspective and our higher self, everything happens for a good reason. I believe that everything, like the universe conspires to. It's supposed to be a great place. Like it's supposed to be a heaven. It's supposed to be enjoyable. But we just don't see it from that perspective, and that kind of ties into people hanging on to the negative, and they just can't let go to kind of realize and become part of that beautiful essence that life is and that we are as humans.
Yeah, I actually think that one of the reasons we're down here is to feel emotions, good, bad, indifferent, because I think it's kind of like, how do you deal with your emotion? How do you get beyond your emotion? And that's the next step beyond this place.
Yeah,
I don't believe I think that our considered death from here, I think that's just a new beginning. I think it's in a whole completely different reality. I don't think it has anything.
Yeah,
you know, I don't think when I'm dying, I'm going to say, oh yeah, I remember when this happened and down there, and I remember when that happened, and oh yeah, that was awful. And no, I think I'm not going to remember anything. I'm not going to even remember one thing that happened, what went on down here. I am going to start over, like they call rebirth. You're going to start over. Do I want to be, you know, I asked somebody one time, I said, you know, if the aliens came down and they said, hey, we want to take you with us, would you go with them? And they're going to show you the universe. They're going to show you everything. It's things you were never, ever going to see right now. Oh, yeah, I would definitely go. I said, okay, and what if they decided that the only way you could do that was they were going to have to put your energy in an alien body and you would not look the same as you are now? They said, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, what do these people think is going to happen when they die? Do they really think they're taking this body with them?
Yeah, well, if you study like near-death experiences and things like that, like most people count that they have an out-of-body experience. They hover above the table that they're on, and then they either have this connection to God or to Source, and then they come back. But as far as I'm concerned, when you die, it's just you're astral projecting. You're going wherever, whatever reality that you've evolved to in this stage of life, you kind of maybe continue on learning depending on what influences after you die. Who knows, really? But
I look at it as a long ladder with an endless amount of steps, and that when we leave here, you know, I could be on one step, or I might be on the 20th step, I might be on the 1,000th step, but there's an endless amount of steps.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, and you know, there's a big difference between living to be 80 or 100 years old and eternity. Yeah. I mean, 100 years is nothing compared to eternity. It's a drop in the bucket. You don't even know. Yeah. You don't even know it. It was nothing.
Yeah, we're so caught up.
It was a blink of an eye. I mean, yeah, when you're down here dragging, having to pay bills, and bad things happen, you know, oh God, you know, whatever. This is, you think it's a long time. It's nothing. It's nothing compared to eternity.
Exactly. Matthew, are you on the call? I guess he's not here. Said he was in the call.
No big deal.
Yeah. I'm just gonna.
Well, it's nice talking to you, man. And so what do you think's going on with those red balls you're seeing?
I really have no idea. Like they're in my dreams frequently whenever I go to. I've seen them probably, I don't know, 20, 30 times. Got them on camera about 10 times. That's why I'm kind of interviewing people like you, because I'm trying to formulate a theory as to whether or not I should make contact. Because like every time I've seen them, it's gotten closer and more personal, like to the point where it's been like 50 yards from me, the lights in the tree flashing, and then like our latest experience me and Matthew had, we were pretty much like, you could feel the energy shifting. This light was in the tree, and it felt like we were about to get abducted or something. And then we were intercepted by these people in a truck, 4 a.m. and in the morning at this completely isolated area, and they just came and just hung out there and just shined their lights out on us, and then drove away. And it was just like, what just happened? Like, what am I getting myself into? I'd like to figure it out, but I don't feel like I have enough information to.
Well, what is the emotion that you have when you see them? Are you relatively calm? Are you excited, like, oh, there they are? Are you happy?
I feel excited, enthused. I don't feel any negativity. I feel like I don't feel threatened by them. I feel like they've progressively gotten closer. I've seen them maybe 400 or 500 yards after seeing three fireballs in the sky, kind of moving in a triangular formation. One landed off in the trees, and you could see the craft morphing, and you could almost see the windows on it, and you could almost see like figures inside. So it's not like they're.
Well, then you know what? Then you know what? If I were you, I'd go with it.
Yeah, that's my general feeling. I think Matthew's here now. Matthew?
Hi, sorry about that. I'm here now.
Yeah.
I think
if you wanted to go ahead, Matthew, and just chime in, feel free.
Sure. Yeah, it's very interesting what you had to say about the orange UFOs not getting along with the white UFOs.
Yeah.
My first sighting was with a large orange or red ball of fire.
Yeah.
And like when I seen that, I didn't feel like I should have ran toward it or anything. It was just something I was just gonna observe. But when I see the white UFOs, I actually feel very
a little more relaxed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm just really excited, and just there's no negativity.
I think one of the things that you have to be careful of, regardless of what I say or anybody says or you read or what you feel or whatever, I think you have to in some way be careful, because you really don't know. But here's my point. But then again, here you see the red ones, and you don't want to run to it and whatever. If they want to take you, they're going to take you anyway. Good or bad,
That's exactly.
Free out in space.
If they wanted to harm us, they could do it any time.
That's right. They would just take you anyway. So, but I guess the thing will be that if eventually you do make contact with them and they're, whatever, that you don't also allow them to manipulate you. Now, nothing I have been done to me with the ones in the white craft has been evil whatsoever. If anything, it has helped me grow as a person. It has actually helped me understand human beings a lot more. All human beings. In other words, there are people in my life when I grew up. I mean, I hated them. I mean, I visual taking a baseball bat, splitting their head open. I mean, kill these bastards, But over the years, after communicating with these beings in the white ship, they were right to explain to me, said that your worst enemy, somebody who just killed your child, raped your wife, whatever. I mean, just so horrible. You want them dead. That you could have been born them. You did not choose your parents. You did not choose where you grew up. You might have choose your friends, but you only chose your friends because those were the ones that happened to be around your neighborhood. And you didn't even choose what color or race you were going to be. And so literally, those people that you hate, you could have been them. Some black guy, some Chinese guy. You had no say-so on being born to your parents at all. And so then they've helped me in that way, so I'm not so hostile, and you know, and I just look at people that I don't like and say, you know, that could have been me. Even if the guy stabbed a knife in me and he kills me as I'm dying, I'm saying, well, I could have been that guy. I could have been raised like him, got kicked by his father, took drugs, you know, robbed some lady, not cared as a kid. So there's nothing evil about it. They've never said anything like,
No.
you know, you really need to get even with those people. You know, you should kill them. You can get away with it. And so I think as long as something like that doesn't happen, or, you know, or they start saying, you know how humans are, you know, that's just, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, yeah. As long as you don't fall into something like that, I don't think it's going to make any difference. I think if it comes to the point where they're trying to manipulate it to go evil or think badly, then you're in the wrong company.
Yeah, well, I don't really think taking into consideration everything we talked about, eternity and other dimensions, and leaving your body and stuff. I don't really. If you're gonna die, you have a purpose here, and if your time is up, your time is up. Your purpose ends. So, I mean, you might as well go fearlessly into these things and explore and experience what you can, because I mean, at the end of the day, I think God or our highest self is in control ultimately. I don't think if we're meant to be somewhere or go somewhere, something's gonna happen to us. It's gonna happen either way. I don't really I believe in free will, and I believe in destiny, predestination. If you believe in God, you have to believe that everything is in order and is a purpose. So keeping that in mind, I think that we should all be open-minded to this type of thing. We should be careful. We should be analytical, methodical about it, and have a general gut instinct and a sense about what we're getting ourselves into, like we're doing now. But I think, at the end of the day, it's life goes on. If we die, we die. So what? Everybody dies, right? At least you're following your passion. If you die doing something that you love and that you're interested in, and
Well, then you're not really dying.
No, you're not. Exactly.
You will not die. You're just leaving this body in this place right now.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no such thing as actual death.
Well,
there's death to us, oh, gee, people are crying at the funeral. Our body's in the ground. They're going to go to heaven, they think, whatever.
Yeah. So.
But it's not like your body's going anywhere. Your body's going to stay in the ground. It's your spirit that is leaving, or your energy, or your frequency, or your whatever you want to call it. That's the only thing that's really leaving.
Exactly.
So yeah, but if the fact that you're seeing him coming closer and closer is a way for them to say, okay, he's getting more and more excited. So it would seem to me that if you keep doing what you're doing and keep looking for them and mentally saying, hey, come closer or whatever, do that and do whatever, that eventually they will take you and they will bring you back. They have no reason not to.
Yeah. So have you had
because they would have taken you, not brought you back as it is. And so what? So they take you, you don't remember, they take a sample, big freaking deal.
Yeah.
So what?
It's already happened anyways.
Yeah,
so.
Me too. So what?
Yeah.
I don't really care. I mean, even asked them to take a sample from me, it almost killed me. But they needed it because they needed my adrenaline to be up to take the sample. So of course it was painful. They couldn't put me in a freaking dream state, so that was made it bad. But it was my own fault. It was my own fault. I offered it to them. I was so in the fluffy mood and loving them and everything that I said, if you need a sample, feel free to take it. I don't care. Well, that was the problem. That was my own mistake. It wasn't anything they did. If I didn't say that, it wouldn't have happened like that.
Yeah, you get permission.
You're saying it. They take you literally. They're not trying to figure out your slang.
Yeah, it sounds like they're working within the natural laws of the universe. You've given them permission, so karmically, technically, they're not doing anything wrong per se, where it's going to have a consequence on you. You volunteered, so even though you didn't maybe know exactly to what extent, you would feel what they were doing. It was still your free will exercise, and it was kind of a it's a funny thing about being taken. Several years ago, before I went to Montana, I was down Barry Falls Dam with my friend Scott. Me and him, we've seen many things together. The green fog, where all of a sudden he forgot all about it. Everybody else that was there forgot about it. Then they remembered it years later, even though I didn't bring it up, and just all this kind of stuff. Well, one time we were down Barry Falls, and it's in Rutland State Park in Massachusetts. To be in there at night.
Years ago, we used to sneak our car down there. We'd park up on a dirt road, and we'd be looking down out in the sky and looking for the white lights coming. And a white light was coming over the trees. And I said, "Hey, Scott, over there to the right." "Oh, great." And it was going slow enough, and it was big. This thing was probably, looked almost like the size of a house coming. And I said, "Hey, Scott, if we run, by the time we start running, when it gets so far and we run down this dirt road, we'll be right underneath it. I mean, literally be right underneath it." And he goes, "No, let's just watch it from here." And I said, "No, Scott." I go, "Come on, we're going to have to get going here." He says, "No, let's watch it from here." Well, all of a sudden it got to the point where it says, "Well, I got to go now, or I'm going to not be under it and it's going to go by." I started running, and I'm running full blast. He yells out, "Don't go. You won't come back." And I'm running, and I'm going to make it. And all of a sudden something came over me, and I went, and I stopped. And it wasn't because I thought they were going to kill me or hurt me. I thought, what would happen if I didn't come back? Scott is freaking out. He knows what happened. He goes to the cops. I was down Barry Falls Dam, light came, took him, whatever. They think he's nuts. They want to check out where I am now. I'm not home. They get a hold of my mom. No, he's not there either. Okay, give it 24 hours. They can't find me. Pretty soon, weeks are going by. They think he killed me. They think he's a nut. Pretty soon they're telling Scott, "Where's his body? Give his, trying to manipulate him. Give his mother some peace. What did you do?" Well, maybe you just got in an argument, whatever. And then pretty soon my mom, "How could you have killed my son?" Nobody would have believed him what happened. So it wasn't that I was afraid that they were going to take me. I wouldn't have cared. I mean, my mother wasn't around or whatever, and it was just Scott, and I said, "Hey, Scott, I'm leaving." That's one thing. But to be taken and not be brought back and have nobody know where you are, that's a pretty bad thing to happen.
Yeah.
But I think you should go after those if you feel comfortable enough, and your friend does not feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So that he shouldn't be going. He
Yeah.
shouldn't be going. You feel comfortable about going, you should go.
That
Well,
was a long
different
time
for
ago.
you.
That was in
Different frame of mind.
2007. I've come to learn and grow more comfortable with these sightings. In fact, I've had a close encounter with a blue craft that was about, I'm guessing, 5 feet from me. And it didn't scare me or anything. I just stared at it.
Well, see, and that's a good thing for you. But for some reason, you felt uncomfortable with the red ones, where your friend here doesn't feel uncomfortable with the red one at all. He wants to experience, whatever is in there or whatever beings are in there.
I don't know what I feel with him. Like, I don't know anything about him. But I don't feel like hostility. I don't feel threatened. Like you said, if they wanted to do something, they could. It feels like they've been just preparing me, vetting me through my dreams, and then the sightings and stuff. So it just seems logically that that's what they want me to progress into, and they're just kind of waiting for me to take the next step. So
well, that's right. And the more steps you take, eventually you're going to see them.
So how many?
I mean, outside the dream state, you will see them.
Oh yeah.
It's going to take. I'm going to tell you what, though. Like I told you, my first experience happened when I was 3-4 years old. And I did not physically see them other than the ships and the lights and whatever and things missing and all this kind of stuff until 2008. Now, that was me.
Yeah, I know. That was...
Maybe because I'm real analytical. I went through the whole thing. Why is it me? Is it my blood? Is it because, my DNA? Is it, I went through everything trying to figure that out. I don't know why there is, like, why you, why me, why your friend, why not them? I believe it's because of our thought process, because we are open to the idea, and because we're not afraid. We don't look at these things that we see close up, not somebody off in the distance and they see when they go, "Oh, gee, you think it's a UFO? Let's get a picture," Yeah. We're seeing these things close up, and we're not freaking out. We're not like running and saying, "I'm afraid." We got to run. We're standing, even if the red one is there and it's making your friend a little bit afraid.
Well, the thing
he's still not running.
They don't show
He's
up.
not running. He's just not sure.
Yeah.
He's just not sure. And so obviously, if you're not sure, you're going to be afraid. It's like somebody who's afraid of heights. I'm not sure I can walk up that thing. I'm afraid I'm going to fall off. You haven't even stepped on there yet, but you think so.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, if you're making contact like that and they're coming close, you need to keep at that. I've been going out every night.
Yeah, well, it's warming up here in Canada, so I haven't seen them too much in the wintertime, but in the summer they sure show themselves.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. Sometimes the wintertime is the best time to see them. The air is crisp. They know you're looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not bound by weather.
No, not at all.
It's the same reason they can go in the ocean and sit on the bottom or go in the lake up there or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's more us not wanting to be at a freak, man. It's freaking 20 degrees. I'm freezing my freaking ass off. This sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not in the frame of mind to go out and look. But if you can dress warm, and I don't know, are you pretty, I mean, are you in a city or are you pretty
small
rural?
It's a 40,000 people town, population-wise.
Yeah, so you're probably limited to where you can even drive to go be alone.
Yeah.
In the winter.
Well, actually, when our latest sighting was it was just about winter, wasn't it, Matthew? It was getting chilly. But we haven't gone out too much in the winter, I think, just because it's cold and we don't really have the motivation to.
Yeah, when I'm on my mountain, I don't even care. I'm out there freezing my ass off. And I see so many. They still come.
Yeah.
But then again, figure, look, the only heat I have up there is a wood stove. That's it.
Totally.
When I was working, I got to walk like 3/4 of a mile of a mountain through the snow. Then I have to light my wood stove, which hasn't been lit for 12 hours, because the only wood they burn up there is ponderosa pine and lodgepole pine, which burns out in 5 hours. I've been coming home sometimes, and the inside of my house is literally less than 20 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get back up and walk down the hill to get to my truck at 1 o'clock in the morning, because I got to be in town by 3 to start driving truck, to then come home at 6, to then walk up the mountain, to be in my cabin by 8 or 9. By the time I go to sleep, you're talking 3-4 hours. So a lot of times, so I know about the cold, but I got used to it. Yeah. I didn't like it. It's not that I like it, but I got used to it. But I'm forced liking it.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to me this year. I was working outside the whole winter, so I'm kind of conditioned to it now too. But I'd rather, I don't know, I just like to be out when it's warm, because when it's warm here, it's not warm for very long, and that's kind of when they come back.
Well, that actually sounds like,
comes back and you're kind of
that actually sounds like you're a lazy bastard to me.
Yeah, I could be it too.
I'm too cold.
Yeah.
The aliens want to talk to you. Where's my hat? I'm not going out.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean though. It is the cold gets bad. And up there in Canada, you get some nice cold weather.
Oh yeah, it's freezing.
So Saskatchewan, is this pretty woodsy up there, or is it flat? Or
it's prairies. We're on the prairie land down south. It's bushy.
Flat.
It gets bushy towards the north, but it's mostly prairie with southern Saskatchewan.
But can you see like for a long distance?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're not obstructed by a lot of lights?
No.
You got any military bases up there?
We live right at one. There's a military base 10 miles out of town here. So
I was going to tell you, it's funny. So I go out to Montana, I buy that property in 1998. I'm bored. So I start going on my Android phone, Facebook, get on Facebook, start looking up, crash sites, aliens. And I find out, and I had walked up there, because if you go from where my cabin is and you walk down my hill and walk up the next hill, and you get to the top, it's called Kadati Creek. So I'm looking, crash, aliens, and I find that some guy named John Lumley or something, his name was Lumley. He was a trapper, 1890 something or something. He was on Kadati Creek. He was a trapper. And he saw something come out of the sky and crash. And he went over to it, and it had kind of hieroglyphic writing or something, some kind of shapes on it. And he left. And he told a local little newspaper or whatever he was doing. There's a story. So I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of strange. It's right there. Then I'm reading about Malmstrom Air Force Base, about how they shut down the missile silos in '67. I'm thinking, you got to be freaking kidding me. Right down the road from me, if you go in a straight line through the mountains, which you can unless you can fly, it's only 5 miles away. This missile silo, one of them, they're everywhere. But if you go down the road, it's maybe let's see, it's going to be 8 miles. Then you got to take a left. Then you go down another 3 miles, and then there's a missile silo. And I took a picture. They shut that down. And yet, I didn't have any of that clue. And I've been into UFOs, and yet somehow I ended up there. It's not like, okay, I've decided to move to Montana to be on this mountain because this happened to be where Lumley saw a crash. And this missile silo was. I thought that was awful strange. I really believe I was made to go there.
Yeah.
Think about this way. If they can manipulate me to all of a sudden say they want me to take a 4-hour ride to go to the middle of no place, and I think it's my own idea, when really it's not, they can make you go places and be at the right place at the right time to see these things. I used to think I was so lucky. I used to think, man, it wasn't luck. That they do this.
The thing, I've had them show. I was at a country music festival, 30, 40,000 people, and that's when I was telling you about that one that landed in bushes, and they showed up right over top. But I posted a video on YouTube, and like maybe 4 or 5 people actually saw it. There was a whole freaking valley. It was a jamboree, but I seen it, me and my friends, and like nobody else. It's like they make themselves visible to like who they want almost. It's crazy.
Well, it is. You ever wonder why, like, some people will say, geez, how come you can't get a clear picture? They don't allow it. You don't really think these things, you don't really think these beings can shut off a missile silo and can't screw around with your phone, do you?
Yeah.
I mean, if
that's interesting. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was I had a sighting in Moose Jaw at about 5 in the morning, and this bright white UFO was going through the valley in my backyard. This was by Stadacona, Marshall, and I had my camera. There was enough light, you know how the sun is rising at that hour. It was on camera. I could see it in the viewfinder. And when the sighting was over, I went onto my computer, and it was blank. Like there was still audio, but the video was blank.
The picture was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want you to have it. Believe me, if you can get a clear picture for yourself, whatever the picture is, it really is a gift.
Oh yeah.
It is a gift. Yeah, it is a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's a gift.
I get the red ones on camera, and they haven't deleted nothing, so it's kind of strange. But I don't know.
But that's because it's a gift for you.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, let's face it.
I feel like
we can show anybody any of our photos, and ain't nobody gonna believe them 100%. There's gonna be
and people still deny it, but that's just cognitive dissonance.
But it doesn't matter, and I think what people got to realize that when you have contact, you really don't care. You kind of go through the motions of showing people, and you say, "Oh, here, and this is what happened." Yeah. If they believe it, fine. If they don't, just as fine. It doesn't take away from the experience.
No.
If I go fishing and I catch some giant fish and I let it go, and I mean this thing is huge, and I let it go, I feel bad for it. I let the fish go. I go and tell my friend, "You have any pictures?" No. Also, you're making up a story. Did that really mean I didn't catch that fish? That doesn't take that experience away. I still had it. You can't. People try to think that other people can take experiences away just by saying something, which they can't. Yeah. They can make you angry because you don't believe them. You think they're calling you a liar.
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with your personal experience.
No.
So we're very lucky, and we are lucky. I mean, we could be just like everybody else, walking around like, oh yeah, you know, Jesus, this and that guy and whatever. Well, that'd be kind of a lousy life, I would think. It would be for me.
Well, I think everybody's entitled to their own reality, so if they want to be ignorant of these things,
if some guy wants to, he wants to go play with oranges all day and it makes him happy, as far as I'm concerned, that's good for you. That's good for you. Yeah. I was talking to somebody about religion one time, and I said, I don't care what religion somebody is. I says, if somebody wants to pray to an orange, he comes home every night. He prays to this orange. Please, orange, don't let anything bad happen to me. I really love you, and I would do anything for you. I says, now to most people that sounds nutty, but who am I to take that away from him? Who am I to tell him you're nuts? What are you, stupid? Why would I do that to him? If that gives him peace and comfort, and that's what he likes, I'm happy for him. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's any more crazy than what I do or what I believe.
No, it's not exactly.
It's exactly the same. And religion has manipulated a lot of people. Look at even now, all the Muslims, the you know, the Jews, you know, the Christians, you know, whatever.
Well,
It's like,
the thing about religion is there's some spiritual force behind there that's not. I don't know. It's like it's something controlling.
you know what I consider the Bible? I consider the Bible a devil's cookbook.
Yeah.
And I know that might offend a lot of people, but I'll tell you why.
Well, if you look at the Bible and all the quotes in it, and compared to Satan in the Bible, the one doing all the killing is the God that of the Bible, Jehovah. So it's just like, I
Yeah.
mean, if you even think critically, it's like, well, like obviously there's something wrong here.
So God creates Adam and Eve. First, he creates Adam. He's got to make an Eve, but yet he creates the whole universe. But he has to take a bone out of a man to make a woman, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the woman has everything, and just don't do this, but she takes it. So women are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then the son kills somebody, creates. So God's punishing everybody. Now you will suffer, and your children will suffer, and you could. So yet the same God, they will tell you in the Bible, he knows everything that happens before and after.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then why are you making up a story like that? Are you saying that he's like deliberately pissing people? He deliberately creates things so then he can just torture them afterwards?
Yeah, doesn't make
And then
any
he's
sense.
so smart that he created Adam and he didn't know that Eve was going to eat from the fruit. And so then time goes on and he gets disgusted and says, I'm going to flood the planet and kill everybody. Even if everybody, this other guy's nice, no big deal. He got to drown too, because I got to make Noah in his boat with all the animals in there. And I'm going to kill everybody else and everybody's going to be children of Noah. So that's the second mistake he makes.
Yeah.
Then finally he gets up to the point where, Jesus, you know, these humans, I keep screwing up. I just can't seem to fix this. You know what I'll do? I'll impregnate a virgin, have her have a son. That's part of me. And then he'll do all these miracles and stuff. And then when he dies on the cross and gets tortured and everything and is screaming in pain, then he will rise from the dead. And then he can say that no matter what as long as you believe he died for your sins, feel free to rape the next child. Feel free to kill whoever the hell you want.
It's disgusting.
But if you don't believe he died for your sins, even if you've never raped a child, and even if you did good and saved people, you're not going.
Yeah.
How is that somehow not manipulating people in?
That's the worst. That's the worst form of manipulation. It's got to be like, but the thing is, it's not just people believing it. I think there's actually a spiritual force behind it that's channeling things to people and making them think and do things. Because I was in a cult once it's a messianic cult where they obey the Old Testament and they believe the New Testament, and like I was having like all kinds of people, prophets of Jehovah, contacting me, telling me to do things, telling me stuff about my life, and things that, you know, only this force could know, possibly. So there's something going on. I don't know if that's like an alien god, some sort of conscious, like a lot of people, if you study it, like worship of the cube and stuff, it kind of ties back into Saturn and Saturn worship and all these Babylonian cults. It's like there's something
let's
else.
let's throw the virgin in the volcano.
Yeah.
Let's let's cut this guy's heart out.
Yeah.
Let's sacrifice the firstborn child. Something put the ideas in those people's head to do that.
Yeah.
And then to manipulate the other people to believe it. Instead of people looking at him going, what, this guy a freaking nut? Yeah. You know what I mean? They all thought, okay, I believe it.
These people think this force is actually God. But to me, like if you research Gnosticism and stuff like that, there's the concept of the demiurge, and the demiurge is kind of, I don't know, it's a lot to get into, but it's a god posing as God that's not really God, but people think it's God type of thing.
Well, think about it. So Jesus comes down. How do you know? How do you know it's a Jesus? How do you know it's a God when it comes down?
Yeah. Well, something comes
down to you, and it says, gets in your brain and says, I am God, you know, there's a lot you don't know, and whatever, and, you know, and
you don't know.
What if that's not really, what if that's just some manipulation of a higher entity than you putting this in your head to have you then believe everything that they say?
Yeah, exactly. That's
my thing is, if it has anything to do with hurting anything, thinking that something that's alive really isn't nothing, it's a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Because everything, regardless whether we believe it or not, deserves to live, because there's just so many of them. Yeah. But we decide that we're going to make the initiative to just kill it.
Well, a lot of people think
we don't have the we have the power to do that, but I'm not sure we have the spiritual authority to do that. Who am I to make a decision on what should live and what should die?
Yeah. So have you heard of like obviously the Elohim and the Watchers? What's your take on that? Like they're obviously, I think they're probably connected to UFOs in some way, and supposedly they're connected to the God of the Bible. So what's your like? Do you draw any references there?
I tell you the truth, I don't have no idea what you're talking about.
No, look it up.
What would you say? Watchers?
Yeah, the Elohim of the Bible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Let's say there was an Adam and Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Could the serpent not have been an alien that manipulated her to eat that fruit?
Yeah, of course it could.
They said it was a snake or whatever they're saying it was, a reptile.
Yeah.
If I went back in time 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and I took my digital camera and I took a picture of the leader and I showed him the picture and I said, I have your soul in here. I now become king or you die.
Mm-hmm.
I now become king. And I'm only a human being that went back in time. I'm not even somebody, and that's all it would take for me to manipulate somebody. Never mind something that can get into your head while you're sleeping or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You could become king with a big lighter if you went back 1,000 years ago. Look it. I will kill you all. They're going to believe it.
Yeah.
So it's easy to have manipulated people a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you have this whole stories in there about watchers and good and evil and yeah. I mean, what drives man to be evil?
Ignorance.
You know, it's his thought process.
Ignorance. Where
somebody may get pissed off at somebody says, what are you getting so pissed off about? It's all in the thought process of the human.
Yeah, there's also, like, there is spiritual forces at play here, there's obviously both sides of the spectrum, it's just which is which, right? That's the whole thing, is discerning, who to trust.
Well, I guess it depends on which ones, you want to follow.
Yeah.
If there's evil forces out there, but nobody follows them, you don't have a problem. It's only when somebody decides to follow them and is interested in them and wants to know about them. Well, now you're giving them power because you want to, it's like looking for UFOs. You want to look for UFOs, you're going to see them. Yeah. If you start getting involved with this evil and, and all this stuff, it's like opening up the evil box because you want to go see a ghost of some guy that was a murderer and he killed 30 people. Mm-hmm. Do you really want to make contact with that thing?
Yeah.
What, because you want to get it on video? Now you got it in your house? Yeah. And now it's doing stuff and you don't know what it's doing. Mm-hmm. So I think it's all depends on the person. I think if you get latched onto that stuff, you're going to get sucked into it. Yeah. And let's face it, we're easily manipulated. We're very easily manipulated. We manipulate girlfriends or our wives, by our kids, by people you might have a common interest with. Yeah, something, like this. We're always being manipulated by somebody else saying something. Definitely. And every word that somebody says makes you think of something else.
It does. Takes you off into a totally different perspective. Yeah, it's tricky here, but it's rewarding though, going through it all, learning.
Oh no, it's a life worth living.
Yeah.
Although I've had a lot of bad experiences, just in general, looking back on life, I don't regret any of it. Yeah. I didn't like it at the time. Who likes to be having bad things go on? But you know what? If I didn't know what the bad things were, I wouldn't know how good things are either. I wouldn't have any reference point. If everything's just one way, I have no reference point to anything else. Mm-hmm. I mean, I need to be able to think about things, different things, not just be one line and thinking about, okay, I got to look at only red roses. That's all I can do because it keeps me this. I need to be able to divert to the good things and the bad things. Otherwise, I have nothing to really move forward with. I can't learn from anything. If somebody keeps talking to me and the only words coming out of their mouth is orange, that's all I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a funny life.
It sure is.
Well, I'm hoping you go see your friends in the, when do you usually get spring up there?
Right now.
No, but I mean, as far as snow being gone and cold weather going away.
Right now.
Oh, is it getting better now?
Yeah, it's like, 15 degrees today.
I'm heading out tonight. Yeah.
So are you talking 15 Celsius?
Yeah. But I got a sunburn. I got a little bit of a burn today, so it's
getting
warm. I got a little bit of a sunburn, so.
Okay, so then what's your excuse for not going out to the red spaceship again?
I just got to work in the morning this weekend. I'm planning on going out, so.
So what do you do for work?
Well, I did about 10 years internet marketing, search engine optimization. Kind of taught and trained myself to do that. Had a little bit of ups and downs with that in a couple relationships, and not doing that right now. I'm breaking into social media, but on the side I'm doing soffit siding, fascia, eavesdrop. So I've been doing that.
Hey, well, you know, don't worry about bad relationships. I got 4 ex-wives.
Yeah.
After the first one, I said, well, you know, maybe I just needed a different one. They were all from different countries.
Yeah, I did this.
After the third one, because they were always
they're all from different countries too.
Yeah, so
I sampled them all. I made sure that I wasn't, you know,
yeah,
it wasn't
and finding out the last one was closer to my age. He was only 5 years younger than me instead of 10 or 15, and I thought, well, closer to my age. He's divorced. I'm divorced. It didn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't matter, man. It didn't matter. Drove me insane.
Do you feel like you have a twin flame? Have you ever heard of that concept?
I don't know.
You don't buy into that? No.
No, I don't. No, and there was when you're with somebody. I don't care if it's your best friend, your brother, whatever, and you're living with them 24/7. There are going to be problems, and you're going to need to make sacrifices.
Oh, sure.
And then you're going to get to a point, just like, you know, there's going to be negativity, no matter what. I don't care how much you love them. There's going to be negativity. I'm old now. You know what? I'm on a mountain. I do this. I'm done.
Oh, I know. Well,
okay?
After
I'm done.
Through and the amount of money I lost, I don't even care about sex. Like,
you know,
it's just the emotions.
Go look at some channel of somebody doing this. Oh, that's good. I'm done. Forget it.
Yeah,
this thing about, can you buy this? When are you going to build this for me? I thought we would do this today. I'm done with that. I mean, you know, each one of my marriages lasted about 7 years, and it's like, you know what? I can't get those things back, and they drove me insane. And what, for a little of this, and for what? You go out with them at first, and there's a lot of this. Pretty soon, it's once a week, and one a month, then it's once every 3 months, and it's like, well, you know, forget it. I don't need it. I talk to my friend all the time. He's like wants to hit his girlfriend in the head with a bat. He's been going out with her for 17 years.
That's all I hear about.
I see. He goes, oh, you need. He says, you need to find yourself a girlfriend. I says, Scott, if I go find my girlfriend, it's going to be on a Friday night in a bar, and I'm done.
Yeah.
I says, I'm not doing that anymore. I mean, I had them try to take my property, my house, you know.
Oh, no.
Forget it. I'm not doing it. It's just not worth it to me.
No, it isn't.
To get laid, when in 5-10 minutes, well, oh, gee, I had sex last night. Oh, it was a whole hour. What do you do? Now the rest of my week I got to suffer with this? I'm not doing it.
It's just
sometimes I think I'm going to go follow.
That just takes so long to rid yourself of, and it just goes over in your mind. It's like you can't do anything. You can't touch your intuition. It's just like you're always distracted. It's just like if I'm alone,
always
I'm
distracted.
Focused, it's just things are crystal clear. It's like bam.
Now what I'm waiting for is for the Haley Bob to come back so I can cut my nuts off and put a purple scarf over my head and go with them. Like those guys did, years ago?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
They killed themselves, yeah, the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, they cut their nuts off, and they made themselves look like aliens, and they shaved all the hair off their face and everywhere, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. But yeah, no, I'm done with that stuff. And you know what? Because I don't have them, I have more contact. Because I'm not distracted.
Yeah, because your energy's aligned.
I don't have to go to the mother-in-law's house. I don't have to go shopping. I don't have to do anything I don't want to when I don't want to. I can stay focused.
Yeah, you can.
And luckily, I never had any kids.
You can build your momentum, create your reality by, you know, building your thought process one on top of each other until manifestation occurs. So that's what our minds are doing when we're in an astral plane. It's not when we think of something, it's instantly manifest. Here there's a bit of a delay, but it's the same process. It's just speeding up, learning how to synchronize. Like that's what I think synchronicities are. I don't know if you see number alignments, like repeating numbers a lot. You see those? Yeah. That's kind of the process to, I think, merging into those higher aspects of consciousness is kind of just using that, synchronizing and.
It's very unlikely that two extraterrestrials get together and say, "Oh, baby, that was great. I love you." It ain't happening. No. They gave it up.
Yeah.
They don't need it, and it's really only emotion. It's really only a way for us to expend fluid that's in our body that makes us that sends chemical reactions, dopamine, everything else into your brain to make you think that you need it. So then when you get off, you feel better.
Yeah.
But that doesn't. That's just because of the chemical makeup of your body.
Yeah, exactly.
If you didn't have your prostate, you don't think about sex anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't think these people that have prostate cancer and have their prostates taken out, I don't think they probably feel bad they can't have sex because they feel like they're not a man, or I feel bad I can't screw my wife, maybe she's going to go get somebody else. But I don't think it's because they're thinking, oh man, I wish I could get laid right now, but I can't get it up. I don't even think they think about it. They don't have no reason to.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
That production of that chemical that's making you think these things, like taking a joint or something with the THC going in your brain, is changing your chemical makeup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And which is the fault of man. I mean, you got 7 billion people on this planet now.
Mm-hmm.
I really do not believe that human beings were made to congregate in large areas with so many, because you really are. I really could see the difference between you and
I
a
think
city.
we're organic circuit boards. That these are some aliens are. It's like really like kind of the Matrix. Like it seems like we're energy centers. I don't know if you study like Freemason and like occult rituals and stuff like that, but a lot of stuff like sports and all the things that we do here to raise our emotional level. Like if you actually research it, it seems like that's their whole motive. They're getting energy from us and they're using to create things in this world, just take control and shift power. That just seems like what it is. It's just a big grab.
Well, you got to figure, yeah. I mean, you got to figure when you think about something enough, that energy is being sucked out of you. You think enough about something, you get tired, and you're not physically doing anything. It's just mentally, you're basically getting stuff. Well, one of the contacts I had, the multicolored light was coming over. It was actually coming up over Cadott Pass at this one time, and I remember looking up there, and at first I thought, is it like cops up there? Blue, yellow, green. I'm thinking I never saw those other colors before. Well, then I went to the side to look better, and I could see the underneath of the mountain, because it was dark, that there was a black space there, and that this thing was flying. And it was coming towards me, and it wasn't white, it was multicolored. I mean, it was beautiful, and I'm thinking about the time being in a ship. Oh, great. And I'm standing up there, and I said, oh, yeah, you are a ship, and it's coming closer. And literally, it was like my head was a drain, and it had been clogged my whole life. And suddenly it opened up. It suddenly opened up. The problem was I started falling on the ground. I literally was like losing balance looking at it. I felt like my life was being sucked out of me. Like I fell back twice and I fell on my hand, and I literally wanted to stay out because it was like, and I literally said, I'm sorry, I can't take it. And I literally stumbled to get in my house and got up the steps holding on and sat on the couch in my house. And I'm sitting up there and I'm like, Jesus, that was awful, right? Because it was sucked the life out of me. Mm-hmm. And then as I sat there and I started getting a little bit more, I had wished I had stayed out, but I couldn't. I physically could not stay out. I really felt like something either sucked the life out of my brain or put so much in there that I was literally knocking me down that I couldn't stand up. I was losing my equilibrium. Mm-hmm. So, that's crazy. Who knows what the hell's going on? Did they suck a bunch of stuff out of my head? Let's get everything you thought of in the last whatever and suck it out.
It's like uploading or downloading almost, eh? It's like a synthetic organic.
Yeah, exactly.
Download. It's crazy, yeah.
Exactly.
That's where technology is going to. It's merging. We're merging, definitely.
Well, it's like every time we blog and write something on a computer, we're putting that information out there for other people to see. Yeah. Well, if you can suck that stuff out of a person's brain instantaneously, you've already got all that information. Mm-hmm. Or if you decide you want to put stuff in there, take something out, put something else in, you have done that. And that person would not know that. He would think it was his own thought process. Why would you think any differently? Mm-hmm. There's a lot that goes on. I mean, it's just the technology in the future is amazing. It's just like your how we have there's a different frequency in our bodies of megahertz. Mm-hmm. 30 is this to 40 to 60, whatever. But before you get to those points, they're not exact. It's like 29.850, blah, blah, and they're all different. And each human being's frequency that comes out because of the thought process is the same as each person having an individual fingerprint.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to scan your brain and I knew what your frequency was, and I was in a ship, and I had the technology, I could literally program a frequency and know exactly where you were and what you were doing.
Yeah.
And that's already been proven that they already know that even with our technology down here, they already know that. Now the only difference is we have to go in a laboratory, and we have to, like, go into this machine, and then they have to do all this testing. Whereas if you're a highly advanced civilization, you can send or pick up the information, just like a high-tuned antenna can pick up frequencies coming from a camera from Mars.
Yeah.
It's all on a certain frequency.
Yeah.
So the technology in the future is really something else compared to what we have now.
Yeah. Yeah, things are going to change so fast in this planet, realm, whatever we're in. It's going to be, who knows? I don't know.
I don't even see the human race living another 100 years.
Yeah, it's hard to, after what happened.
When I see that how things were in the last 100 years, when we didn't have much technology, we had a nuclear bomb and some prop planes and whatever, and where we are now, and what we've done to the oceans and the air and everything. I mean, you can't, you got Fukushimas and contaminated fish.
Yeah.
And all these people.
We need contact. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like, we need it. Like, it's something that it might be our only chance, our only hope. We got to save ourselves.
The problem is, humans will not matter, because humans are short-minded. Yeah. And what we think of today, and they saved us, will only start again.
Yeah, it would.
It's not going to just say, okay, we've learned our lesson.
No, I know.
How many times did you get a speeding ticket driving down the road and you said, from now on, I'm driving the speed limit? How long did that last? You got in a hurry, you stepped on the gas.
Yeah.
Yet you said you wouldn't, because you got caught that time. There's no way that this planet can live another 100 years.
No.
We're already setting up the stage now to have world wars already. Yeah. Whether they want to use the oil as an excuse, or they want to use politics as an excuse, or religion as an excuse. You've polluted the oceans. Back in the 50s, they figured the ocean is 2/3 a planet. We can't pollute that. Just throw it in there. Dump the old cars in there. Throw the old chemicals in there. No big deal. Now you've got 3-mile plastics out in the middle of the ocean, and you cannot go to an island anywhere on this planet and not have stuff washing up on the beach.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
2/3 of the planet is full of water, and we've shit it all up. Yeah. And now everybody's saying, well, we got to go green, and that's fine. So we go green, and somebody else does.
We got to get out of here. We got to get off this planet, like, pretty much.
That's why you need to go outside and talk to your red buddy friends.
I know. It's gonna happen. It'll be this summer.
They won't take you. They probably won't take you yet. They'll take you and have to bring you back.
Yeah, a few times, I'm sure.
They're gonna want you to suffer a little bit more.
Oh yeah, no, I have a purpose here, and I'm well aware of what it is. So.
Here's the thing about purposes. Everybody wants to think like a lot of guys. You see people and they say, "Oh, he was a hero. He pulled that guy out of the burning car, and unbelievable. He didn't have to do it." And he said, "It's something anybody would have done." And so you see that as a guy who's a hero. And yet, if you're a hero, you will not even know it, because it could be as simple as, we're trying to think of, well, if I get the message out, if I, this is my purpose, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
It could be completely something opposite, where you lived your whole life going through hell and whatever, and one day you're walking down the street, and it's, a nice day, and some guy walks by you, and, you just say, "Hey, hi, how you doing?" Yeah. Kind of happy, and he looks at you, and he looks depressed, and he looks and goes, "Oh, yeah, I'm doing all right." And you think nothing of it. Right. You talk, you say, "Oh, yeah, life's tough. What are you going to do? I've been married and divorced." "Oh, yeah, me too." Yeah. You don't know this, But that guy was on his way to commit suicide because he thought nobody on this planet gave a shit. And I'll give you an example of that. When the Boston Marathon bomb blew up here, they asked one of the guys who lost his leg, and I know the attitude of people in Massachusetts. I grew up here. It's bad. I mean, these people are freaking nuts here. They said, how did you feel when you lost your leg? He said, I actually felt pretty good. And they said, you felt pretty good? And he goes, yeah. And they left it at that, like, what the hell, right? And I knew what he meant. He was at the marathon. Now look at all these fucking people. Oh, fucking, this sucks. Fucking assholes, you know. He gets his leg blown off, and now he's got these same people he thought were fucking assholes running to save his life. You're going to be all right, buddy. I'm going to stay with you. He lost his leg and got his faith back in humanity. That's why he said he felt better when his leg came off. Because he was in such a bad way that his life sucked. Didn't matter he had two legs and two arms. He hated it.
That,
And so then he lost his leg. And that meant you had all these people all of a sudden running at you saying, hey, I'll be with you, buddy. I'll save you. I need some help over here. He got his faith back in humanity. It took to lose a leg to do it. So I knew what he meant. Because like I said, I grew up around here. I mean, I went to school here and everything else. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, I remember when I get my driver's license when I was 16. I used to drive to New Hampshire. You know, I just drive anywhere, Vermont. I just get away from these people. These people drove me nuts. Every time you have something you have to do around here, let's say you get it. Give you an idea. I was moving to Montana. I needed a dumpster. Get everything out of my cellar, clean up my house, throw it in the dumpster, and I needed it. I'm leaving Monday. I need this dumpster Friday for the weekend. I call up the dumpster guy. I said, yeah, hi, I need a dumpster and I need it. If you can't bring me one, let me know because I need it and I need it because I'm leaving on Monday. No problem. I says, are you sure? And he says, yeah, no problem. Don't worry about it. I'll be there in the morning. He says, fine. Next morning, dumpster doesn't show up. The whole day goes by. Doesn't go, no dumpster. I call the office. Girl answers the phone. Says, yeah, I ordered a dumpster and it was supposed to be here. And she said, and you got to realize, every time you go to do something in Massachusetts, get your car fixed or whatever, there's a problem. There's going to be a problem. And I've been like that my whole life. She answers the phone and she says, oh, yeah, we came by, but you weren't home. Okay. She lied to me, and I knew it. I says, let me talk to your manager. He gets on the phone. I says, look, I don't know if your secretary's sucking your dick or whatever. I says, but you just lied to me on the phone. I says, you told me you were going to have a dumpster here today. I was home. She said you came by, and I know for a fact you didn't, and I don't like being lied to. And I says, and I'll tell you another thing. You want to know why people go into a building and start shooting and killing people? I says, it's because maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe their kid got killed by a drunk driver, and then people like you lie. They get pissed off. They figure they got nothing to lose, and they come in and they just start shooting people. And I says, I'm not like that. I says, but that's how things happen. And he goes, I'm really sorry. He goes, I got kind of caught up. I got kind of caught up on something and I couldn't do it. And I says, you know what? If your secretary would have said that, I would have been fine with it. I would have said, okay, well, thanks. I gotta get one, you know. He says, I will be there in the morning. I promise. I says, okay. He showed up the next morning. But to have to do something like that just to get a freaking dumpster. I mean, I had to try to kind of say, look, this guy probably does this all the time. You know, it's like somebody telling you, hey, I'm going to come over and help you build your house. You go, you sure? Oh, you don't worry about it, buddy. You know me. We'll have a couple of beers. It'll be a good time. You wait for him. You don't get a phone call. You're stuck. And then when you finally get a hold of him, he goes, oh, sorry, man, something came up. That's to me, that's how things happen around here. And I mean, it's continuous.
Yeah. Yep.
Are people in Canada pretty friendly? I've been to Canada. I used to go up to Montreal.
The same everywhere. I don't know. I suppose
it's unfortunate. You know, I went up to Quebec one time, and I went with this other guy. You know, it's two girls sitting at a table, and he knew them, and he says, "Hey, why don't you sit with these?" He said something to them in French, and I guess it was one girl's birthday, and there was some guy that kept coming around trying to hit on them. So they said to my friend, "Hey, why don't you have him sit with us, and that way when the guy comes by, he'll leave us alone." You know. So he tells me, and I said, okay. So I sit and I'm talking to him, and it's her birthday and whatever. And here comes this guy from Quebec. And he comes up to me and he goes, and he said something to them. They said something back. It went like this. Then the other one, I guess they said I was with both of them, you know, to get rid of them. So he goes, where you from? And, you know, I stand up. And I says, I'm from Boston. He goes, what you do here? And I said, I can't stand the people in Boston. I says, I needed a break. He goes, I think people from Boston are very nice. And I knew he wanted to fight. You know what I mean? I could tell. He wanted to hit me, right? So I looked at him and I said, well, let me tell you something, asshole. I live in Boston. I know exactly what goes on over there. And I says, I'd suggest you get the fuck away from me. He left. But he wanted to hit me for no reason, just because I was sitting with these girls. So I said, Jesus, I'm no better off than when I was back home.
You know,
So
Quebec's terrible.
Quebec
People are
freaking nuts.
like Canada, but yeah, Quebec's awful. Like they're very.
I had some other people
they don't
want
even
to
want
kick
to be
my.
a part of Canada. They want to separate from Canada.
Before I went to Quebec, I was going out with this girl up in Canada, and she says, "Oh, they're having a corn party. You know, they boil a bunch of corn, they get like 50-pound bags, and then we have salad and stuff and play volleyball." I said, "Oh, that'd be fun. I get to meet your friends, you know." And this was in where they spoke French, you know, and they wanted to be separate from everybody as French Canada. Can't remember what it was, but so we're playing volleyball, and I'm talking English. Oh yeah, all of a sudden, the other team is saying something in French to the German girl. I can tell they don't know me. I mean, they hate my guts. I can see it, right? I'm like, fuck, what the fuck did I do? She says something to them in French, and they go, oh, okay. They were pissed off because they thought I was from Canada, and I didn't want to speak French.
Yeah.
But once they knew I was from Massachusetts, yeah, maybe they still thought I was an asshole, but they were nice to me then.
Yeah. Well, it's just people are
So we do
childish.
have our problems no matter where we go.
It's childish. It's just the ignorance of humanity in general. It's childlike mentality that it's hard to break. It's tough programming, but we got to grow up or we're doomed.
Yeah, I think
sad reality, but I guess I should
well,
say I have a will.
I do.
I have a
I think
will,
we're
I have
doomed.
a belief, but yeah, it's I don't know the general
We're
feeling.
doomed.
There's a heavy sense of something impending. Is you know.
I know you got some people who say, well, you know, we got to, our frequency, we got to level our frequency. It's gonna, somehow save the world or something. You know what? It ain't gonna happen as far as I can see it. Is it an individual? You can save yourself.
Yeah.
And you might be able to save some people that are around you, take them with you a little bit.
Yeah.
But in reality, you have to save yourself. You're not going to be able to save anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't. You can't save them. You can't convince them of anything to change differently than how they think. They will take some of what you say and believe, and some they won't. They're not going to be you. And so if you get saved, they can't possibly be saved because they're not thinking the same way.
Mm-hmm. It's almost
you can't.
It's almost like you have to hypnotize people to get them to really fully understand and comprehend what you're saying. It's like you have to imprint their consciousness.
And let's face it, they think you're nuts anyways.
Yeah.
They think, who's he? What makes him think he knows what he's talking about?
Yeah, generally that's.
I had a guy at my work that when I was driving a truck, and his name was Jack, and he was always online during lunch, looking at UFO stuff, Anunnaki, and it's just everything. And I felt there was a ship outside. Now you got to realize this is right next to the Helena Airport, but they only have one big plane that comes in there. It's not an international airport, so there's military stuff in there. And I felt them outside, so I took my binoculars, and I knew exactly. So they were 15 by 35 power. So I knew exactly how to do it. I looked up and I see the ship. I mean, it's up there, but it's daytime. I see the ship, and I go, oh, beautiful. I go in and I see Jack, and he's on the computer. It's lunch, and I said, hey, Jack. I said, if I told you that I was an alien and that I was I was impregnated into a human body to feel the emotions and understand things about humans that I would not know unless I had done this. And then my energy was going to be taken out and be brought to my ship when I left. And my ship was outside. Would you come outside and look at it? He says, yeah. And I says, okay, let's go outside. So I lined the ship up to a telephone pole so he could, and I says, you have to move very, very slowly with the binoculars. And I says, don't shake or anything, and you have to go super slow. I mean, I'm talking like micro inches going up. And I said, follow to the telephone pole, stand right here, and just keep going straight up, straight up, straight up. He was shaking for a while, then all of a sudden he saw it, and he's screaming, I see it. I see it. Oh, my God. And he goes, oh, my God, I lost it. And so I walk in the building because my boss came outside, and he thought, what the hell's going on with Jack? I says, oh, I don't know. And so the next truck driver comes back. He's still outside. It's 20 minutes going on now. Mike comes in the building. He goes, what the hell is Jack looking at? I says, I don't know. So he goes back out to talk to Jack. Jack tells him, he goes, oh, he wants you to go outside and show me what he was looking for. And I said, okay. So I go outside, and I kind of line the thing up with telephone pole. He sees it. He goes, what the fuck is that? I says, oh, well, early this morning I got up and I drove like 10 miles away, and I got a whole bunch of string, and I tied a silver balloon on it, and I launched it up, and that's what it is. He goes, you know what? I don't know what it is. He goes, but I know it's not that. And he goes, and I don't want to look at it anymore. It freaks me out. He actually thought because I showed him that somehow him and his two daughters and son would be taken. And that was just by seeing this ship. Well, later in the day, I go and I'm going to the bank on the way home, and I stop in the bank, and there's a guy inside. And he's just walking out as I'm walking in. Well, the doors swing open automatically, but I always walk out so fast, I'm always pushing the door open before it opens automatically. And I says, oh, look at that, you're magic. He goes, no, it's the aliens. So I'm thinking, oh, cool. So I go outside, and I find the ship, and I said, hey, I want to show you something. And he goes, yeah, what do you want to show me? I give him the binoculars, and I says, look up there. He goes, no, man, forget it. And I says, oh, I says, no. He goes, what is it? I says, no, just look. I just want you to tell me what you think it is. He goes, no, man. He was treating me like I was a nut, and it was bad. I mean, he got scared. He got in his car. He goes, just get away from me. And I'm thinking, oh, great. He just came out of the bank that I do business with. Now he's going to go in there. He's trying to get a loan. He's going to say, I got these nuts walking around here. So I go in the building, and I talk to one of the girls who's a loan officer. And I says, look, a guy just walked out of here. And, he's probably going to say it was a nut and everything. And, and I don't want you to think I'm a nut. So could you come out for like a couple of minutes? I just want to show you something. She goes, yeah, sure. So she comes outside. I line her up with the corner of a building that was across the street. And I says, I want you to go up there. And she's, after about 2-3 minutes, oh, my eyelashes. Oh, all of a sudden she sees it and she goes, oh, my God, that triangle. And I says, yeah. And she goes, how did you even know that was there? I says, I don't know. She goes, what is it? I says, it isn't going to matter what I tell you what it is, because you're going to make your own decision on what you think it is. And she goes, well, I'm going to tell you what, if that guy comes in the bank, I'm going to tell him that I don't know what I saw, but I know what he wanted you to look at, and I saw it. And I says, okay, that's good. I don't think the guy ever went back in and said anything, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But people see things, and I've had a guy come up to my property, thinking he's Mr. freaking Highlander, swords and everything, and really? I lined him up with the corner of my house, and he saw it, and he brought tears to his eye. He started like cheering up, and he looked at me so embarrassed, and he said, my eyes are watering. He goes, I'm really sorry. I says, no, it's all right. Other people have seen it. They've gotten freaked out. Other people have seen it. They've just thought, oh, it's a military. It depends on what people want to think they see when they're looking at it. I can never tell anybody, oh, this is what it is, other than talking to people like you, because they're going to make up their own decision what it is.
Yeah.
Another guy said, oh, I think it's an angel. It must be the angels, because he believed in Jesus and reads the Bible. He knew Hebrew. He had some kind of thing he wore around his neck like the Jews do, and he could speak Jew. I guess it depends on how brainwashed somebody is to think whatever it's going to be for them.
Yeah. Well, who knows? There's probably some connection in there to something. the Bible and these beings, or some race
Well, put
of
it
these
this way: you
beings, or
can't.
whatever. There's got to be something.
Well, it's hard to look at them and not have some kind of spiritual connection.
Yeah, yeah, of
You
course.
know, I don't see. I mean, it does. It put it this way: looking at something like that definitely ventures your mind off of this planet.
Yeah.
You know, you're not thinking. You know, when you see a spaceship, oh, it's Arizona. You know, I mean, you're thinking, oh, where's it come from? Is it coming from another dimension? Is it coming through a wormhole? Is it coming from another planet? I mean, you're literally leaving the planet with your thought process, and without seeing them, you wouldn't have that. Other than watching movies like Star Trek or something, where we put ideas in people's head, like, oh yeah, there's probably life out there. But when you actually see something like that, you know it's not coming from down here. That it's not coming from it's coming out of that military base over there. Not your red balls that you're seeing there, those red ships, and not the white ships coming over my house either. I mean, that's not coming from some human up there following us around and putting ideas in my head. You know, there was a question asked to me about those MyLab. What the hell is the MyLab, anyways?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think it was your friend asked me.
Matthew, there?
Sorry, my lab?
Yeah. What's your take on that?
I don't recall.
What the hell? Somebody wrote it to me. One of you guys wrote it to me. You asked me, what do you think about MyLab? I'm guessing what they're saying is government coming in your house and
military abduction, yeah.
Yeah, what is that about? Military coming?
It's probably the military obviously knows about UFO activity and things that are going on, and they're probably working with certain races to fulfill certain agendas, and I don't know, it's probably somehow connected, I would imagine. But to the extent of what's happening and where and why, I have to really have speculation. But
so see, I originally thought that it was like okay, the military decides they want to do some kind of experiment. They somehow sneak in your house. They wear alien masks. They put a drug in you. You're kind of in and out of consciousness. You see some kind of aliens over you, but in reality, we're really men in costumes.
That's a theory that it's all hoaxed. It's the government making this everything we're experiencing a conspiracy of aliens, but it's just some sort of government conspiracy psyop. But I don't know if I buy into that too much.
I don't buy into it at all. I think
no.
Yeah. So
it's
somehow
it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No, because you know what? I'm a light sleeper myself. I mean, since getting out of the Marine Corps, I can't even sleep. I can't even sleep if leaves are rustling outside.
Yeah.
I hear anything.
I think the military is involved, but they're involved to the point of preventing us from making contact. I don't know if you've ever had that happen, like Men in Black, or like this is something Matthew's had happened to him on more than one occasion, but shadowy government type agencies and even like other types of beings intercepting him and preventing him from making contact, and actually contacting him specifically and telling him things. Matthew, did you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, you pretty much explained what I went through, and probably still to this day.
So what happens? Are you like outside your house and all of a sudden there's like these people there, or?
Yes. Essentially, especially when I go out traveling, I'm either followed, watched. Basically, it's just
are you going to any?
An indication that I'm being watched.
Are you going? Yeah. Well, you know what? By them watching you, it also makes you not probably want to do what you were doing. I mean, did they ever follow you when you were going to make a visual contact or anything, or is it just like in general you go into work and there comes that stupid van again?
It's when I go out to try and make contact.
Well, didn't you say that they told you specific things and stuff, or did you not want to get into that?
There have been a few things, like I'm being watched, being studied, and just to be careful. like along those lines.
I've had it. I've had
so
in
in other
dreams.
words,
I've been told in dreams that I'm being watched inside the dream realm and outside. So I don't know. Like there's definitely like there's a definite phenomenon with Men in Black, and definitely something happened the last time we went out. We were very very close. Me and my girlfriend and Matthew went out. Someone showed up, and the last guy we interviewed too had the same problem. His car chased him down the road, and then he got on the phone with the cops. If you watch the interview on our page, he said followed until he picked up the phone and called, and then they disappeared. Then he went back again, and they were still there. And yeah, a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So I don't know. The military is involved on some level, but I think it's mostly preventative. They don't want us seeing outside the illusion that they have here set up for us.
well, I can believe that because when I went on that website that I got invited to, and I can't even think of what the name of it was anymore, Phenol something or whatever, and it's funny when they asked me the question, when they had it on the thing, oh, what do you think about this? I was reading the story, and the words were kind of changed a little bit, but it sounded exactly like something I had written before. And I think, wow, that's pretty close. And I answered it, what I thought and what I thought about the aliens and whatever. And I felt bad about doing it. And I'm thinking, oh, this isn't cool. Something funny with this. Why would they send this to my email? I mean, nobody even has my email unless I gave it to them. And I don't give anybody my email unless somebody's going to mail me something.
Yeah.
So, but I answered it, and I got home, and I'm walking up that hill, and all of a sudden, I hear this loud helicopter, and it just clears the trees, and it's like right over me, and I'm like, and I literally for a split second, because it kind of stopped and hovered for a few seconds. In those few seconds, I really thought the back door was going to open up, and somebody was going to come down on ropes, and I was done. And then it took off, went just over the trees, and I went, oh shit. And I'm thinking, well, maybe just maybe it just happened to be in a military exercise or something going on here. And I'm thinking, oh freak. And I walk up a little more up on the hill, and all of a sudden I hear a plane, and I look out, and over the mountains on the other side of me, there's one of those big spy planes. It's got the big like satellite dish on the top of the roof, and it's like going around. I go, you gotta be freaking kidding me. It goes around my property a couple of times, and then it was gone. It was no more than, a few minutes after that, if that. All of a sudden, a white light, one of my ships comes over. I always believe it's the same ship. I don't think there's different ships coming at my place. I always think it's the same one. I think it's the same one I've seen since I was a kid. And I know, and I felt it was directly resulted because I answered that blog thing. I don't think it had anything to do with they just happened to be up there and this thing happened to be flying around. They were looking for it. Because they can't, they have given up. The military has given up chasing them with fighter jets.
Yeah, they're infiltrated.
Here's the thing. You're trying to keep this stuff, a lid on this stuff. Put out phony information, let other people do it on their own and all this kind of stuff. They send jets up. What's the first thing people do? Is they look up. Well, you look up, you see the jet, you see what it's going after, and now you can't really keep it quiet. If the things are filing silently, and most people aren't even looking up, those things could fly right over you, shut that light off, and you don't even know it. One time I was up on my property, and one of the ships came over, and it was heading towards the road down on the bottom where cars go by. And it's not a very busy road, but still, it was a tar road, and it's kind of a Highway 200. And it was going over there, and my first thought was, oh my God, if a car comes by now, they're going to see that. There's no way, because it was flying too low. As soon as it got close enough to the road, and I was staring at it, it was dark, but I was staring at it, it was lit up, and I didn't take my eyes off for a second. It shut the light off. And when it shut the light off, I could see, because it just shut the light off, I could see the metallic saucer. And I'm thinking, and as I watched it, it got too dark, and I couldn't see it, and I said, oh, was it nice? Suddenly, when it got over the road, and it was in the mountains, it turned the light back on. Yeah. And, why even? And one of the reasons they have the lights on, you want to know why? It's to kill the bacteria. It's not so people will see them. It's to kill the bacteria. Yeah. Because you got to realize, it's like when they take people physically. Taking them mentally, it's one thing. Taking them physically, we're full of bacteria that is not, and so are they.
Yeah.
That light in that the frequency of those lights, even though you're seeing it as white light, there's a certain frequency in there that destroys bacteria that's on our body as well as on theirs. You know, being in for them to catch something. So we don't get anything from them, and we don't give anything to them. That's why it's lit up. Also, the reason for the light is a lot of time that light will absorb a lot of the transmission of when they're trying to pick these saucers up. Mm-hmm. It has to have an object, like a solid object, to go off of. Mm-hmm. And so these lights aren't so they can, we need to turn the lights on to see where we're going. Yeah. It's mostly because of the bacteria effect.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So just, you know, because you got to wonder, why do they turn, why do they need the lights? Well, they only need the lights to kill the bacteria. It's not because, it's a power source. No, it's not their power source, because they don't need the light to fly.
Yeah.
And if you ever notice, if people will ever follow, you should check it sometime. Next time you see your little red buddies up there, or he sees his white friends, ships, find out what direction they're going in and find out if they're following the ley lines of the planet.
Yeah, I've looked into that a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something at this lake. There's something that they're attracted to because they're all over the place up there. I don't know what it is, but there's lots.
Well, you know, put it this way: there's something up there, or they're going up there, or they're just flying by there, or they're resting there. I mean, you said it was up by a lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're probably just going, going underwater.
It's the energy there. I think it's just what it is. Something about the energy out there. It's very serene and calm. Obviously, by a lake at night, it's kind of an optimal place for them to do their thing, I would think. But I haven't been limited to seeing them there, but over the past 4 or 5 years.
Well, if you get a cell phone and you get with some of those free apps, you should download them on your phone, like a high magnetic field generator. It's only like $1 or something. Sometimes they're free. You can put an infrared camera, turn your camera on your phone into an infrared.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're cheap. Huh. They're only apps. You can, they're great. Oh, yeah. You know all these ghost detectors? You can have them put right on your phone.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, they're only $1. Oh, yeah, they're all $1. Put it this way. Your phone has to have a magnometer in it. Mm-hmm. If you have a phone when you're trying to turn it, and you know that if you try to make a compass out of it, if you can't make a simple compass out of it, then you don't have a magnometer in there. But these other most cameras, most phone cameras now, if they have a magnometer in it, you can get every freaking app: infrared detector, high magnetic field generator, electric magnetic field generator, and they're cheap, and some are even free.
That's nuts.
You have literally in your phone, you can turn that into thousands of dollars worth of equipment if you had to buy it singly. And I know because I've done it. So, wow. When you do stuff like that, you can go to places where you are, and just for kicks, you look at you turn your phone on, you see what your magnetic field is, or, is it at 65 or 42 or 49? And then, while you're standing there, see what it is when they leave. See if it changed.
Yeah, I had no idea these such things existed, but wow, I'm definitely going to try.
Oh, yeah, and the other thing is, you look at it, you got yourself an infrared detector, you see these red orbs, and if you see them long enough, take your infrared detector, put the camera up there, and then take a picture of it and see what it looks like.
I'm definitely going to try that.
And if you notice on this, there's a picture I have, and if you looked at it at night, you would swear all you're seeing is a white triangle. But what it really is a saucer with an energy field coming off the outside edges. Because I have one that I've made it at night, and it's black. And if you look at it and you look at where the point is supposed to be, you will see there is a saucer shape there with like a little cap on top, and the energy field is like trailing off the side of each side of a plate. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when people are seeing things that are lit up, and they think it's a triangle, even though there are triangle type, it's not a triangle. It's actually a saucer trailing the energy field coming off behind it. But yeah, you should look into getting some of those apps with your camera.
Yeah,
they're cheap.
Definitely looking at that.
And that way, when you go out there and you're looking at these orange things, you just turn the damn thing on. Have it on. See if anything changed.
Yeah, I find a lot of the sightings happen when I'm like really excited, or just my own energy field is amplified. So It's pretty nuts. Like that's when most of them occur. Like you're really excited, you're really having fun, you're really just anything. Like you're really amped up. You're with a group of people, and then just bam, they're there. Like it's just.
Well,
But
you know
it
why?
doesn't,
Because
and it doesn't happen when you're going out and you're just not expecting anything. You're kind of distracted or focused on something else. Like I can pretty much go out when I'm focused and I want to see it. I can like they're there, like just kind of like you. So
yep.
it's
Well,
like we're
well,
tuning into their frequency and just making them show up or calling them or manifesting by law of
well, think
attraction.
about it. When you're happy, you're actually internally calm.
Yeah.
You don't have any negative energy twerking your freaking
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah. No
You
doubt.
know, I mean, negativity is just going to ruin everything. I mean, if you can't focus, it's kind of like lifting weights. You go into lift weights, you're like getting ready to give up, but your buddy behind you says, "Oh, come on, one more, come on, you can do it, you can do it, can you do it?" And you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet before you were going to give up.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have that same kind of mentality when you're going out to see a ship. You can't just go out and say, "Oh yeah, they're not
No.
going to be there." Oh, I don't know what my girlfriend's doing tonight, or be with somebody who's going to be saying every 5 minutes,
Yeah.
It's nothing now. What are we going to do? Let's go have a beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to see nothing at that point.
Nope. Nope.
Well, okay, I guess I'm going to get to bed.
Yeah, it's been long. It's been great. It's tons of valuable information that I'm sure listeners are going to appreciate. I for sure appreciate it. I don't know about you, Matthew. You still there?
Yes, thank you for joining us in this conversation. Very valuable information.
Hey,
Lots
no,
that I've learned.
hey, no problem. And hey, you know what I want to do? I'm going to send you that photo I told you about, that dark place where that girl is peeking over with the hand.
Yeah, you got
That
amazing
looks like she's
photos.
peeking, like she's looking out of the. I'll send it through my cell phone because that's where it's on. I don't know much about computers as far as, my buddy Scott, he can do anything. I can't do nothing. I've been using my Android so long that I'm lucky I can get on Facebook and then post a picture. Not like a green screen. I think it's all cool, but I have no idea how it goes.
Yeah.
But I'll send you this photo, and it'll look like a greenish smoke. And I want you to look to the right of the photo and then up a little bit, and tell me if you see a woman's face in there.
Okay.
Just look for it.
Well,
If you don't see it, you don't see it.
the photos.
But I'm going to find it hard to believe you won't see it.
The photos that you sent don't even look like crafts. They just look like almost like entities in the sky. It's crazy.
Well, those are not crafts.
Yeah, they didn't look.
Those
like
are not crafts. Those are holographic images sent to me to start the conversation going. So I know I'm not just talking, or my conscious is manipulating my brain to think I'm talking to an empty sky. That's why
I didn't get what you were saying there in the chat.
That's why he sends them.
Mm.
Because, it's easy for me to go outside and look up and then say, "I know you're up there." Yeah, and have my brain be telling me back like I think he's actually talking to me.
Yeah.
But when he sends me those images, you got to realize when he sends me those images, it's kind of like,
that's crazy because
have you ever see those head shrinks years ago? They say, "Oh, tell me what this ink blot looks like." What's the first thing that comes in your head? They show you some picture of a nothing. It's like an ink block that looks weird. That's why he sends me those images. When he sends me those images and I see something, my mind starts thinking, I know he's there, but my mind also starts thinking about that shape and about all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
That's kind of like it put a thought process in my head. And that way I know it's there. Those are not ships. Those are not ships at all.
Okay. Wow.
And basically how he sends them is, how you, they also, you got to realize, as fast as you can fly. Let's say I'm on one planet and you're on another planet and you're in a total another galaxy or something. And I can't really fly the speed of light. And I don't have a wormhole. I don't have nothing. And now suddenly, I know you're there and you know me. And I want to send you a message. And I want to send you a message that an asteroid is coming to smash you and you need to get underground. So what I do is I send an image to you, which is going the speed of light. And now you have the image and you can get down there because you're going to be able to see the image by me sending this thing before it's faster than I can get in my craft and get there and tell you that this is going on. And when I send you that image, everybody on that planet is going to see the same image and know they have to go hide.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's
phenomenal.
The technology is unbelievable. The things that go on in the future, people have no idea.
Oh, I know. I had a. Oh, I won't get into this stuff. But yeah, I didn't understand what you were saying, but that's crazy. And the funny thing is, like, just the other night I had a dream where it's like I was seeing that in the sky in this dream. It was like I pretty much identical to what you're showing me, and then all of a sudden a message like there was writing in the sky was coming out, and it was like telling me something. But I became lucid, and then I kind of woke up and forgot what it is. But that totally makes sense. That's totally what it is. It's like that's a definite image of what you're seeing is
It's imprinting a message in your
yeah,
head.
yeah, it's honing you, and it's confirming that this is what I've been in contact
That
with.
it's real.
Yeah, yeah,
That it's real.
yeah. Exactly.
I've
You're
had
not seeing
shapes. I've
things,
had
yeah.
shape. I've had shapes of color come down so close you could throw a rock at it.
I know,
I mean,
you're
you're talking about really being. You want to feel like you're in a matrix.
amazing.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
And you just like you almost think you're going to be sucked into it.
yeah.
But like I said, it stimulates the brain to have you think certain things, and then starts a dialogue going.
Opens up a
You know,
channel
you're not
almost.
sitting.
Yeah, it opens up a
Put it
conduit.
this way: there's one of the things I shaped that I sent you, and it looks like an S. It looks like an S. The conversation before that one appeared, I was looking at another shape, and then he changed it to the S. He changed it to the S when I was talking to him about Scotland. And when I said Scotland, that shape of S appeared.
Wow.
And then we got into the whole history of going way back with DNA and the you know the way back, and it created a conversation like this. Another time, he sent me an image, and I hadn't sent that one to you, and it looks like a giant, multicolored, kind of looks like a woman's shoe. And when that came up, we started talking about relationships. My relationships that I had, was it worth it? Would you do it again? Blah, blah, blah. These things start these conversations.
Incredible.
Well, okay, man.
Yeah, it's been
You
an
have a good
awesome
night.
interview to date. So, you full of knowledge, full of wisdom, and yeah, I've never heard stories like this from anyone. So it's really good to meet a like-minded person that's had these experiences.
Well, it's been going on such a long time, and I've learned a lot. I don't believe me. I've learned so much, and I'm still an ignorant bastard.
Yeah. Well,
we're
always gonna learn. We're never gonna stop learning. So.
No, and I couldn't have learned any. I put it this way: I've only learned not because I'm any more intelligent than anybody else. I've only learned because of what they've taught me. That's it. I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
They've done it all.
Yeah.
I can only. They've led me in the direction I've gone. They've made me think about things that I never would think. They've had me analyze myself, analyze life, analyze everything.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for them, I'd be a totally different person. Now, I'd be a hateful person, right? If I never met them, I probably would have killed somebody already.
I agree. Yeah.
I would have been one of those people you read in the paper. Oh, guy goes crazy. Yeah, I guess he smashed this guy's face in. I wouldn't hurt anybody. I may make, like, some guy came up to my property one time and he threatened me. And before he left, he really thought I was going to kill him because I was animated. I was very animated. As soon as he left, my wife at the time says, "Oh my God, are you going to kill him?" I said, "No." She goes, "Well, it looked like you were going to." I says, "No, I just wanted to make it look that way so he wouldn't come back." I says, "I'm not going to kill anybody." Now, who knows? If I didn't have contact with these people, maybe I would have killed somebody one of these days.
Well,
you just never know.
I hear you on that. Yeah, we're definitely being helped and guided, so for sure.
Yeah. Okay, man.
All right.
Nice talking to you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too, man.
Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Okay, good night, man.
Hey, bye.
Bye.